Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and thanks for stopping by. Welcome to RGV Aerial Photography's deep dive into images he captured this week around the shipyard and launch site in Boca Chica, Texas. Our dedicated team will guide you through with the latest updates and theories at Starbase, Texas. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon for future streams.
This is episode 31. And my name is Mauricio, and I'll pass this along to Indian Star. And happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thanks, Mauricio. I appreciate that. Hey, everybody, in case you missed that, that was my fault. Mauricio, when you started, they didn't quite hear the beginning. I think they heard you from episode 31. But that was Mauricio. He is RGV Aerial, and he is the man, if you don't already know. My name's Indian Star, and I'll be here for the next 3 hours. And then we have GPJ. GPJ, did you want to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, it's Grandpa Joe, everybody's favorite space grandpa. And happy birthday, 29. Way
Thanks,
to go.
man. That's right, younger than you.
That's right. Well, guys, we are up for another exciting week of testing and reviewing. Zach is out this week, but we look forward to Thomasio driving. So with that, I'll hand it over to you, Thomas.
Thank you, Grandpa Joe. And we actually do have another guest commentator, I believe, with us. Is Nick still with us?
Yep, I sure am.
Hey, Nick, want to introduce yourself and say hi before I do?
Sure. I'm Nick. I'm a member of the Ring Watchers over at Brendan's server, and I'm mostly here to help out with the build site production area.
And mind you,
Thank you,
Nick is an immaculate 3D modeler who does much of the modeling that you see on the Ring Watcher tweets. So he's fabulous and very knowledgeable.
And congratulations again, Indian Star, for a very happy birthday.
Congratulations to me for surviving another year. Woo!
Right?
Yes. Another orbital pass here. So we have some amazing photos, not just ground, but aerial photos as well, of course. So that is going to be great. I always love to start off with Sunny. Anything with Sunny, I'm game. So there's Sunny down here. The picture is great with the ship 24 and Sunny down here. It's just, it gets it every time. I was looking at that thinking, that looks just like my dog, and I wish I could bring him down to see the starship.
I think your dog might be a little confused with what this whole rocket thing was. I mean, but Sunny, she's been around it her whole life. She knows rocketry pretty well.
Sunny's a
Yeah.
He, yes.
And
But yeah,
he's
All right,
getting them.
look how big Sonny's getting.
yeah, getting big. My Jackson looks a lot like Sunny, and man, the one thing that these two dogs would love is running around in that mud. Oh, just
All right.
don't let them in the car afterwards.
No kidding.
So where should we start today as far as the sites here? Any suggestions?
Build site's always a good place to start. Or
Build
Sanchez.
Mhm.
site it is.
Or maybe even get Massey's out of the way, since
Oh,
it's just a couple
yeah.
of images and that.
And we haven't done Massey's in a long time. Macy's.
Yeah, it's been a few weeks. I love going shopping at Macy's.
Macy's it is then. Then we'll go right to the build site, then Sanchez and the launch site, if that sounds good.
Sounds good. We'll work our way down Highway 4.
All right, sorry about that. There we go. So we now have a great shot of Massey's. It's a former gun range. It looks to be still used as a gun range, but not quite the same as it used to be. They've done a lot of work here.
Well, actually, it
So,
looks like they even upgraded the gun range. There's a new shooting range. Um, so I think they're still keeping it like that, but they just upgraded the berm there.
Yeah, it used
yeah,
to be
we
a building right here too.
we worked it out that they're going to have short, medium, and long ranges, and we kind of figured out a few streams back exactly where they're building them. So yeah, we're pretty confident this is going to stay a gun range. On the left-hand side. Now the right-hand side, that's all SpaceX storage.
Yeah, what's interesting is that a lot of gun ranges like this, they'll have the berm so that even if you did something really stupid or somehow you have a misfire, there's no way that you can physically get anything over here as long as you're, being smart about stuff. But yeah, that is a lot of work they've done. So they even moved over the test cell. We saw this moving down Highway 4 a little while back. This is actually the first I've seen it actually in this area so far. I knew it was going here. I just didn't know where.
Its next test is, can it fit over that bridge?
That bridge has been widened too, so it should be able to.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So the rest of this area has been like setting up for storage and laying things out. It's like they're getting prepared to do something big either here or at another site. A lot of the stuff here, it looks like we had back in this corner were jigs for Star Factory. So I suspect that this is all Star Factory for the most part. And then you've got water storage over here. We've talked about that before.
Yeah, my biggest long-term wish for Massey's is that they turn it into a McGregor Jr., a Raptor testing and repair and validation station. It would have been perfect for like the Booster 7 incident where you have to take 33 engines and revalidate them. Well, throw them on a test stand, get all their pressures validated, and then fire them once, and then return them right back rather than having to ship them a few hours.
And it's about 7 hours each way, right? So McGregor from Boca Chica, at least.
Yeah, but then again, it takes an hour to hook an engine up, so it may not end up mattering that much. But I do like the idea of going down there and hearing the engines constantly being tested at Massey's.
I'm just wondering what direction it goes. It's like, well, there's nobody in the U.S. that will bother if you point it that way. Which that is Mexico right here. So I don't know if the Mexican government would like that sound, but that's mostly just trees. There's quite a bit of farmer fields and things like that. I'm not sure what this particular area here is, but it does look like there is some fields because you can see that there are lines going back and forth as if it is a field. Anyways.
By the way, if anyone wants to ask questions, is it at questions or exclamation point questions?
We ask that they do exclamation point, the word question, space, and then your question. Type out your question. But Hoppy, our brilliant programmer, has among many of the other roles that he has, he created it so that it can do at question, it can do exclamation mark questions with an S at the end. He's done it so that it should pick up almost every variation.
Nice. Way to go, Hoppy. So yeah, if anyone would like to ask any questions, especially about what we're currently reviewing, yeah, throw in any of those and ask away.
And one thing you all will notice, hopefully notice, we'll start to have a banner at the bottom for donations. We can also show questions as they come up. We do screen the questions before they pop up, so no worries like that. Don't try and be funny. The only jokes around here are the ones that we tell. No, I'm just kidding. But I did want to let you know that you will see some differences.
So you do think I have jokes? Good. Whew.
Yeah, yours are dad jokes, but that's okay. They're still jokes.
Oh, good. What? This is an interesting formation on the shooting range. I've never seen this horseshoe shape before. Is that a shortened shooting range, do you think?
That's what you call a tactical gun range, where you can shoot in any direction at targets popping up or popping around. So I would expect they'll do some simulated interior environments there.
Nice. Well, I think SpaceX Security now has a great place to keep up on everything else as far as their safety and training related procedures.
That's right, and they're putting all of our faces on some of the targets for the SpaceX employees to get some stress out.
Oh dear.
Do you guys know how far Massey's is from the build site? 55 Chevy guys wondering.
Oh, we
I
figured
just
that out. Go ahead.
well, I looked it up real quick. It's 7.7 kilometers or 4.8 miles.
So it's not too far. Not too far. It's good walking distance or biking distance.
Good question. And we also want to thank Sharpie for his $9.99 contribution. Thank you, sir. As usual, we appreciate you.
This almost looks permanent where they've put this. Like they've got too much storage over here, so they've put down the weights, which are stainless steel rolls that they no longer are using. It's like 301 where they're using 304L or a 30X, which would be stainless steel of SpaceX variety, but it's like 304L or something very close to it. Anyways, I just looking at this is pretty permanent there on the test cell. So it's just those three main images. So this one is probably the best of the three as far as the details that this one gets. You can see pretty much everything.
Yeah, so I see a lot of storage and a lot of things that we've seen before. I'm not noticing anything new. Thomas and Instar, Mauricio, y'all see anything
I
that?
just see a lot of organization going on. They're prepping, and that's about what I'm seeing.
All right, well, let's move on down to Sanchez.
All right, so let's go ahead and grab a ground shot of Sanchez here. I'm looking for the aerial shots too.
So while you're pulling those up, Mauricio, do you want to give us our weekly camera update? Getting closer?
Weekly camera update is we've reached the goal. We're just waiting for the funds to hit the bank so that we can go out there and order the camera. The price did go up, but I mean, that's not a big deal. We still reached the goal anyways. But so yeah, thanks to everybody that donated. I really appreciate it. And can't really say exactly when we'll have the camera, but I'm hopefully by next week. So be on the lookout for that.
Awesome. We'll need you to take some of the same shots at the same time so we can compare one with the other.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. Gonna compare them side by side, same shot, same conditions, same settings, so that we can see what the difference is. And I'll probably be hosting a live stream for Patreons and YouTube members if they're available when that happens, like a first review or just to analyze the images. So
very nice. So what are we looking at here, Thomas? This is the Sanchez site?
Yeah, this is the Sanchez site. At least probably 800 images that we're going through today.
Oh.
From the ground shots to the aerial shots. Actually, less than that. It's what, like 500? So, anyways.
Let's get rolling then. So, yeah, there's their some storage for their heavy machinery. And what is this, a ship transport stand?
Yeah, so this looks like for any normal variety ship, but it's just for temporary movements of the ships. You can see like the transport stand up here. Is more long-term storage. It's got a larger frame. This one's just for a bottom ring. I think this one would be for, what ship did they just go through and chop up recently?
21.
21?
Yeah, and 16 as well. Just got the axe right.
Yeah, so it's either 16s or 21s.
I've never noticed before, but I do love the no SPMT. SPMT here.
I didn't notice that until you mentioned it. It's like right there in writing, but that's hilarious.
There's a reason for that.
So yeah, they've got all the lines still hooked up to do pressurization for each of the ships, as well as the booster, and it's all underground pretty much. So you've got to the far left over here, you can see just back there is the air gas vaporizer to do all of that. This actually is a bit new. It looks like a little power substation, but it's just a bunch of lights, so that's different. I guess it's if you have a low pressure air on one of the ships, that might go off. I don't know. Any speculation on that?
It looks more like an indicator light to indicate the status of all the ships. It'll probably be like a green, yellow, red, and I don't know what the other two are.
You could do blue and orange. Those are the only other two colors I can think of.
So what would they be for these colors, do you think? What are they signifying?
Like nominal pressurization, substandard pressurization, total loss of pressurization, equipment moving, or a warning light, or something of that nature. Yeah, they have similar light stations on the high bay for when something's being lifted or not. So I think it'd be pretty much the same, like danger, no danger, some danger.
Makes sense to me. Thank you.
All speculation, of course.
Well, this is an interesting area that I haven't seen these new tanks come in before. Looks like they're on a trailer still up to this side. There might be another trailer just to the left of it.
Yeah, and I see all the manifolds up there. They look kind of similar to the manifolds down at the orbital tank farm. I'm guessing maybe they're just for keeping the ships topped off, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, so they've got this particular tank right here with that. You can see part of the air gas vaporizer system. So it takes the heat from the air, liquid nitrogen from here, and basically vaporizes into the nitrogen that they put into the ships and the booster. Now I'm just wondering what those would be for. It's either something that's going to come up or hasn't had a purpose yet. You can see that they've got two identical sets. You can see the control panel for each of them right here and here.
You know, the thought comes to mind. They sure are spending a lot of money keeping these ships around. The only useful thing I can think of with doing that is that eventually they will have ships that are built and being validated, being tested, but are not actively on a launch campaign at the moment. They're not quite ready. So there might be some need for a small amount of long-term storage for ships that will be active duty, and maybe that's the systems they're testing here. What do you guys think?
I think you're well on your way to saying the right thing or thinking the right thing. I also think that it's pretty cool that we have a matching donation train going on in the chat. I don't know if y'all noticed, but there are little pop-ups down at the bottom indicating who's been so kind to donate and how much they've donated. And you'll see them come up one after the other because we are on a donation train. Toot toot.
That is amazing. Can you go through and read off some of the people who've been donating here?
Now's the perfect time. We want to thank Rocket Prophet for his $10 donation. Paw Angel, $10 train all aboard. 55 Chevy Guy, $10 for fuel costs, something to start things off. Jack, €10, never miss a train. Yazada, $10 for Mauricio and Sunny. Very generous of you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Everyone who donates, y'all are all great.
By the way, I did see a label on this stuff. It looked like quiescence or something. It was kind of hard to read, but that's the label I saw on those.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
Okay, so we've been speculating that they've been doing some sort of testing as far as a paint or some sort of material testing as far as the vehicles and this particular stuff. It seems to be set away from it as far as the vehicles, and hasn't had much change for quite a while, but it's something that is a long-term test, we believe.
Yeah, the stainless steel doesn't rust, but the steel that has been heated where they've welded, it changes the composition of the steel, thus allowing it to rust, and thus weakening the weld a bit. So it's something, it's just surface rust, but long term, you got to manage that. So yeah, a little bit of paint over that, not a bad idea. Or cold welding.
Okay, so we've had a bit more work on this, and it looks kind of janky now, whatever's going on here. They're cutting something out and putting a bit of a, I don't know what you call it. Either these are not flanges or they're cutting out the metal itself and putting it at some strange angles. So it looks like there's something supposed to go in here for each of these parts. Maybe this is where you would have a Raptor or something along those lines, because there's
Thomas,
about 20 of these.
you've moved away
sorry.
from the mic. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at my screen real close. Sorry.
Could you repeat what you were saying, please? It sounded very
That
interesting.
they've cut out these particular pieces. It looks like they're going to be putting something like Raptors, at least where the mount or the fixture would be on the booster end on these points. But yeah, it's really strange how they've gone through and cut it out in such a very jagged way. It's just kind of all over the place. But yeah, that is very new. Oh, that rocket garden's looking amazing.
Always.
They're making some pretty good progress as well on their new transport stand.
And that's the booster transport stand, and those black boxes on top are the where they mount the hydraulic actuators that secure the ship.
Yeah, they're like pins, the giant steel blocks that go inside of here. And I think this would be for number 9 at this point, because we've got one for 8. It's already on the stand. It's just number 9 that I think would be the next one. And then maybe 10 gets to reuse number 5s.
So Nick, now might be a perfect time for you. Can you give us a quick overview of the boosters that are currently in existence and where they are?
Sure. Booster 4, as we all know, moved over to Sanchez a little while ago. That's a display site. We've got 7, which is in the wide bay. Sorry. Right next to 8. And 9 has begun stacking in the wide bay as well. So they have 3 in one area.
Do you know where they are in the wide bay, left, right, and center, looking into the door?
So looking into the door, Booster 7 would be on the right side. Looking into the door from the flats, Booster 8 and 9 would be on the left.
Awesome. Yeah, that's amazing. They can fit 3 boosters in there. Or
If
6.
I could grab an image of the overview that would work with what you're describing, but you're going so fast.
It's okay. We can get back to it again. So you've got 4, 7, 8, and 9 is being stacked, and then we've spotted parts for 10 and 11, right?
Yep.
Yeah, got to have a lot of transport stands to keep all those moving.
And we've seen them at Sanchez, those transport stands, and we've seen them coming in on trucks, I believe. The new ones.
Nice.
Very exciting.
Okay, so yeah, they've been making a
New
lot of progress
transport
there.
stands.
Yep. So they've been working on that pile of dirt quite a bit over here. It's a lot of backfill for the rest of the site. And I was thinking about this the other day, that they may be using some of this for the launch site. They might be bringing some of the dirt and soil as backfill to the orbital launch site for backfill. They've gone through and done some land reclamation. It's in the what we call like the highlands. It's just right above the mudflats where the grass grows, and it's above that area. So they don't need as many approvals to go through and do backfills there as far as that area. But we'll get to the launch site here in just a bit. But let me grab some pictures from Sanchez directly here. Sorry, it's taking a moment to load.
No, you're good to go. I love this picture. This is actually a good one to stop on for the moment because nothing beats the rocket garden. I mean, nothing beats the rocket garden. I know that there's talk about closing Remedios, but I hope that means that they're going to move the rocket garden towards the road so that we can see it because this is a site like no other. I would be, especially if it happens before I get there, I'll be devastated if I can't see them like closer than far away.
Worst case is you walk along over here in this area of the mud flats.
Yeah, but there's snakes
that
there,
would suck.
and I have to wear boots that go up to my upper midsection to make sure those snakes don't get me.
That's
It's
right.
the grass area that you have to worry about. Go ahead, sorry, Grandpa Joe.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is you put on your Cajun white boots and just go for a walk in the mud. It'll be
sir.
all good.
No Cajun white boots. Love you, GPJ, but I am not in drill team anymore.
I wore a white hoodie just in case I fell into the mud to show that, yes, I stayed clear of falling into the mud. So I did the exact opposite. It looked like a Starman that was cheap Amazon hoodie, but
It wasn't cheap, by the way, buddy.
Well, I mean,
Was a
comparatively,
birthday
I've
gift
seen
for
some
you.
really expensive ones. They were like $600 for these hoodies. They were like a replica of the entire thing. Those were pricey.
Listen.
Considerably. But thank you.
And you're matching with Chuck, so I mean you can't beat that.
Oh no! And here's those pieces we were looking at before. There's not just 2. There's 3 of these. So
And
yeah,
remind
these
us
are
what
the
these pieces are, please.
Okay, so yeah, now that I've looked at it, these are for moving the ships and transporting them. You now have a transportable compressor, water removal, and nitrogen nitrogen to air separator. So these boxes right here, the white ones, they go through and separate the oxygen and the nitrogen. They dump the oxygen. They pretty much only want the oxygen. And then these blue tanks here, they're the ones collecting water. So you've actually got a total of 5 of them. So I've got 1 here and then these 4. Then these are pretty much the air compressors that you use with it. So you put them in tandem with one of these trailers.
Mauricio, could you see them when you were doing the ground shots, out of curiosity?
Oh, we were just looking at these a moment ago. It's those blue tanks that we were looking at that were held up high.
So there are blue tanks on each one of those?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually like 3 blue tanks on each one of those. Those are the quest things.
Quiescence. I don't know. It was a longer word. But let me go back to that really quick. So it's this image right here. So that's what these are.
Yeah, if somebody on the research team could check in. Can you zoom in and enhance? Yeah, I'd love to see if anybody knows what those are.
Whoa, easy, Tiger. What is MOOP 250 PSI?
Maximum something. Let me think here.
Wattage? Doesn't matter. Let's carry on. I'm just curious.
Maximum air weight pressure, 250 psi ground. I don't know.
And then argon, and then I guess the fancy word for argon, just argon all the way around.
These are argon all the way around.
Argon.
Okay. Mauricio, did they look big? Those blue things, compressors?
Honestly, I didn't really pay too much attention when I was taking these photos. I just knew that Thomas would probably have something to say about it, so I didn't really
Safe bet there.
get a sense to the size.
That is the safest bet. I have something to say about everything.
And always a good thing most of the time. Well, most of the time.
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope to say good things about everything.
You, for the most part, do.
Perfect.
So, Nick, can you remind me of what all of these tanks and rings are? Is 2.1 and 6.1?
Nope. Well, yes, technically. You see that little leg skirt in the middle?
Yeah.
That's what they call 6.1.
The
That's what they
the
call 6.1. So it's not actually a full mongrel, if you will.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Used to be that it was going to go to this test article or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was going to be put on B6, which is the tank on the right, but they never did anything with that. And the two on the left, the one with no ring on top is BN2. That's just a normal water tank now. And the one on the left is 2.1, which they thoroughly crushed a little long time ago.
Yeah, back on December 18th. I remember that one very well. I keep
I have
mentioning that date.
a video of it too. I love it. I like watching
Yeah.
it. It's actually one of the better ones at Burst.
So one thing you don't see here, but let me see if I can get on this one. Perfect. So Chief from What About It, he got this amazing picture. Maybe we can show it here, but it shows that this is where they're dumping cryogens. It's basically just a holding tank that lets the cryogens sit here and puddle and vaporize. That's all this is for. We were like, why are they putting ballards around it? That's what these little poles are. It's like, were they just really lazy or something? That doesn't make sense. Why would you do all this effort for a ring? It's in the wrong place. It's supposed to be at the build yard, not the Sanchez site. No, it was here for a reason. They needed to put the cryogens here.
Thomas, I found it. It's a Quincy air compressor. Got it.
Nice. Okay, so here is Chief from What About It. This it's showing that particular ring with all of the gases coming out. That is just an amazing shot, because this is not going to be an often circumstance where you're going to see the cryogens being dumped into here. It's just I guess an overfill. So for
But
instance, they have a LOX overpressurization for the build site. I'm sorry, the launch site. This would be very similar to that.
But they're not going to take the liquid methane back into the pipes. They're going to vent it in this with all the rest of them.
This would be liquid oxygen or liquid nitrogen that they'd be dumping off here. Most likely liquid nitrogen.
And what about helium? Would there be helium in the mix if they were to vent it?
The only thing is if it's other gases. So they might have, and this could be just like all of their argon, helium, trace elements of like xenon, krypton, whatever else is floating around the atmosphere, they might be dumping here. So this might be just the extra contaminants, so to speak.
But no propellant safe for the liquid oxygen. So no methane.
Yeah, they haven't been doing liquid oxygen from here as far as I know. The tanks are still labeled nitrogen. We can double check that in the other images here.
Dave Reese
But
said
yeah,
it's
so
like a
far.
cryo waiting pool. It's like Death Becomes Her, where they like freeze themselves so that they look young.
Oh no. Yeah, that would just kill you. It doesn't work that
Well,
way.
that's the premise of the movie. Go figure.
Yeah, there's that dirt pile all over again. But yeah, it's gonna probably fill up this area a bit, and then I'm already seeing that they've raised this land up. I don't know how much more
Yeah.
they want to raise it.
I like how that digger has actually separated the dirt into neat. It's like divvying it out.
It's like he's trying to pick it up and put it right here. I think that's what's going on. He's making a taller
he's
mound, so
pulling.
it's just using
Gotcha.
less area.
Yeah, they have a lot of swampy land down there, and Philly Kid and I were talking about this some months ago, that it's pretty strange that they're laying down road base and dirt and road base and then cement and then another layer. They must really want to make sure whatever is going here doesn't move a lot.
Yeah, with the road base, you've got the larger rock that you're dealing with, and it's basically to allow the water to escape and move out. And then you, like a road, would build it up into a finer and finer level. Roman roads used that forever, and a lot of those roads are still around. Got the BFC crane still sitting here waiting for its buyer to
Oh.
come pick it up.
Our Appleton, our very first crane at SpaceX.
They built a whole shed for it, and then they never used the thing. But yeah, here's that transport stand that is under construction. This is kind of cool because the flyover took place, I believe, on the 18th.
It did.
And the ground shots that we have are from yesterday, the 22nd.
Mhm.
So in 4 days, you can see that they went from no pin mounts to the pin mounts that we were looking at on. Let me go back over here. So these elements right here. So these were added within the basically 4 days. So that's pretty quick.
The pin
work
mounts
that you
were
can
added
see.
in 4 days?
Yeah, so these parts right here didn't exist 4 days ago.
Is that right?
I don't see them here. These are the area that they're supposed to go.
Interesting.
So yeah, those are blank and empty and ready for the mounts, which I'm not seeing in the photo. Oh, here they are. They're over here. So they moved them from over here, put them on within 4 days, and I'm not sure if they're fully welded and seated in place or if they're just tacked in place.
Yep, good old SpaceX moving fast.
These are probably tacked. I don't see any other welds. Wow, that is
That's really
dang
cool.
fast.
Yeah. Well, and they have what, 3 or 4 shifts, so it makes sense that they can cover a lot in no time. Oh, it's our SPMT right there.
Oh, I don't see where is it up, left, right.
On the right? Is that not an SPMT on the right?
I don't think
On the other side of the
so.
black solar panel that's passing a truck or next to a truck? Yes, this thing.
That's just a lot of trailers. Wow.
Yeah,
Oh, and
that's
it's got a little SPMT right there. I think.
Oh, no, that's another trailer on top of a trailer. It's trailer inception.
Okay. There's lots of trailers.
Interesting.
Yeah, I see trailers like that going through my area all the time.
Well, why is there a large tree growing in the middle?
Oh,
On
where's
the,
the tree?
on the
Oh,
left
these?
there, you see those? Yeah.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Is
I
that
think
a
they're just
tree?
shrubs.
In the middle of everything.
It's been a while since they've been back here. Like, they need to go through and either figure out if they're going to use any of this material or recycle it. And there's a lot there. It's all brand new, pretty much, for most of this, except for like the siding like that, which the wind has grabbed and it could be used, but it wouldn't look so good.
But the transport
Um,
stands that you were showing just now, they still haven't done anything with that middle one. We saw one coming on a truck this week that we think is for a new kind of booster stand. I believe that's what Astrogen was filling me in on. Astrogen is the bomb digger.
I'm wondering what the transport stands you're talking about. I've got the booster transport stand.
Yeah, I'm talking about those. But
Oh,
one
these
of them
ones right
came
here.
in on a truck. We just don't know what it was or if it was actually a booster stand.
Oh, okay. So if it was on Rover 1, we
It
did see
was.
a new, just normal Starship transport stand. That was basically it.
And you saw it go in the build site, turn around, and come back out, right? That's the one.
Yes,
Yeah, that's
that's
the
the
one
one.
I'm talking about. We
So
don't
there's
see it
not.
here, though, right?
No, it's not here. I
Okay.
don't see any of the elements here, at least in the flyover. It may have been just after the flyover that happened, because I think that happened. Was it Thursday?
Yeah, it happened during the week for sure.
Yeah, and we had the
Afterwards.
flyover, I think, on Wednesday.
On Monday the 18th.
Monday? Oh,
Yeah.
Monday the 18th. Okay.
Yep. There it is.
You-
Not in your picture, in a different picture that I just saw.
Oh.
Sorry, my apologies. I did that actually in a meeting when SN10 blew up. Sorry.
So you're talking about this. This is from
Yes.
Rover 1 Lab Padres
Yes.
camera in front of the build site. I asked him to put it there and then move it back and forth for testing, and everybody loved it here. He hasn't moved it to the launch site at all, so it's like that works out.
Who did you ask? Are you being funny?
Lab.
Oh,
No, I asked Lab
the
to
camera.
put
Got
the
it.
rover cam here, and he did. And I was expecting to be moving it back and forth because that's what we were talking about and thinking about. But this has been a very popular site to see what's going on the build site. We hadn't had this view before, so it's very novel and everybody loves it. And
Yeah.
everybody's like, no, just leave it there. It's good where it's at.
Well, and the booster stand itself is novel and unique. We haven't seen anything like that.
Yeah, so this would be the
Sorry,
booster
the
stand,
Starship
and then this
transport
Starship.
stand.
This is actually just the same. It hasn't changed
Are you
any really
sure?
for
Because I
So
understood there were some changes.
this would be the ground plate. So this is the bottom side, and then the top is on the right, and then you're missing 2 more of these, I believe. So these are only a quarter section each, or maybe a third one is missing. But yeah, it's missing at least one.
And we're back to
And we're back
Sanchez.
to the flyovers. So parking lot not so busy yesterday, but
That was Monday.
Monday. Oh, Monday. Forget.
You're
I've
fine.
got the days backwards there.
Gives me purpose. Don't mind me.
So, Thomas, how would you like to buy that little lot on the bottom right? Just build a cute little house there and hang out.
Not just a house, maybe a business, because like the 2 things you need are bathrooms and food down there. The bathrooms is a huge one. Like you could have people pay you to use the bathroom.
That's a good call. I'd build a little coffee shop with my apartment on top of that, and anybody can use the bathrooms for free. This is America. Come on.
Now, what kind of structure would you build as far as style? Anything specific?
Oh, French bistro for sure.
Perfect. It would stand out so well.
Exactly.
The Airstream Park is looking pretty good.
Sorry.
Maybe I'll open up a diner called Space Eggs.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And Thomas has the bad jokes? Oh my goodness. GBJ, this is why you're amazing. You came up with that on the fly, didn't you?
I did.
You're amazing. You know who
It's
else
a certified
is
dad joke right there.
Certified.
I earned it honest. I am a dad after all.
Yeah, they've got a pretty good awning setup going here, and then they've got I can't remember what these are called. It's
Trellis.
Trellis, yeah.
I only know that because I'm building a trellis right now.
Perfect. So, let's see, that little crack that we were looking at is just right off the image there. Still can't see it.
I'm sure we'll get there.
We'll get there eventually. That's always one that's like, how's that crack doing? Everybody's always concerned about it, and it's not a huge deal, but it's still
a huge deal.
It's still odd and has some water that caused it. As long as it's fixed, it's good. I've always thought that it's the this little leach field that they've got here that's causing that. It might be pumping too much through the leach field from other sources besides this place, or this is where everybody likes to go.
Well, since we're heading in that direction, you want to jump on over to the build site?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sweet.
Love me a build site. I know everybody's stage 0, but I kind of like the build site. I think I'm a ring watcher at heart. Hint, hint,
So,
nudge, nudge.
Yeah, right. So I guess here's the thing that makes this so special. Everybody's launching. Everybody's, doing the whole stage 0 except for the chopstick catch arms, obviously. But the build site is what differentiates SpaceX from, ULA and all the other providers, Boeing. They are building stuff rapidly out in the open. They're using iterative design, and they are ramming through efficiencies in terms of rocket production. So you're going to see more come out of this testing facility than you will out of many production facilities, and it is amazing.
Yeah, so quick overview. Sanchez build site to here. Then you've got the community with the residences. You have your tracking station and the BFC shed site. That's what we call it, because that little one right here where my thumb on the cursor would be, that's the BFC shed. Now we've got this bigger building. It's like, do we call it the BFC shed site anymore? I don't know.
It's the Starlink storage area.
Yeah, that would be right. The Pez loader or Pez dispenser. I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's basically a dispenser. You load it into the dispenser. Anyways, that box is awesome. We'll get to it later.
And Mauricio, you want to tell us about the poll you just put in the chat?
Yes, you were talking about it. Your favorite area is stage 0. The post says, which area, it's a typo, which area at Starbase are you most interested in? And what's quite, I think stage 0 right now, it's winning at 76%. Why is nobody choosing Massey's? I don't think anybody's going to choose Massey's.
Gizzy did. Way to go, Gizzy.
I think he's a gun enthusiast. Just saying. Anybody who chooses Massey's likes the gun range. It's an awesome place.
Have you
I've been there.
Have you?
Yeah, I accidentally went down the wrong road.
But you
Ended
did-
up at the end of Massey's, and then all of a sudden I hear gunshots, and I'm like, "Oh crap!" And I look at him, and I'm seeing that there's a 22 caliber rifle pointed down the range there. I'm like, "Oh, good, it's not pointed at me."
Hey, Mauricio,
Yeah, it's
can
a
we
cool place.
vote more than once on your poll? Do you know?
No, it's just you get
Oh,
one
one
vote
time.
and that's it.
Okay. Because there are a couple of people, Fred in particular, who I just saw, would like an all option. They enjoy all the different sites.
That is
Yep.
true. It only gives me 4 options. Instead of Massey's, I should have just put the all of the above for that.
I
like
would
that-
select all of the above, including Massey's.
Yeah. And Sanchez only has 1%. I think only one person voted for Sanchez. Nobody likes Sanchez.
Oh, this is an amazing shot, Mauricio. You got it
Look at how
perfect on this
far
one.
the Stargate building is. Look at that. Wow.
I mean, it's
that roof
perfect
is
from right to left,
tunnel
and you get
long.
such an awesome view. So obviously you've got the Stargate, High Bay, Mega Bay, Tents 1, 2, 3, and Star Factory. And look at the
Star
roof
Factory.
on this.
Yeah.
They're just cranking this one out now. They were holding for quite a while. Now they're just going at it. And I think it's because of these elements that are probably for the AC units. They took their time about it. And you can even see that they're doing the siding on the parapet. That's what you call the edge piece right here. Yeah, this is moving very quickly now. And this last section is the only one that we're still wondering if there's something big coming in that they need a crane to lower it in place, or if it's just they've allocated some of those resources to the rest of all of this. So the cranes are putting up the roof to getting this ready. One thing that SpaceX, Tesla do that's amazing is that they will have the electrical wiring in place. They just won't have the outlets done until they get the roof over it, and then they'll get the outlets in, and then they'll start hooking things up so it's live. They could start going ahead and putting in some of the factory equipment that will be in here pretty soon. I'm expecting it to happen within the month, really. So we'll probably get to about here by that point, or about here.
That's crazy awesome. One thing I wanted to kind of point out the difference in construction technique. With this Star Factory, they built the caissons, the equipment, landing pads. They poured all the concrete, and then they put all the structure up. And Florida, with the Greg Scott flyover photos, you're seeing much more of the they're building the structure over dirt, and then they're laying concrete, I guess, by pipe afterwards. And it's just very interesting to me that they're using both techniques. Definitely two valid ways of building a giant warehouse and factory.
Danella has a question. What are those tiny things standing on the roof? And I see them as well. I believe they would be the
People.
guides. No, on the right there. They look like little stanchion poles.
Oh, these are
Oh.
literally just like road cones up here. So
Even
you have this.
Mauricio said humans.
Okay, so yes, these ones standing here are humans, but these ones are just road cones.
I think they're
There's a lot of
stanchions.
road
They're the
cones.
same things that they use at the gate. They're the full size as opposed to the road cones that are little cones.
So like these have the rubber base. You can see that these two have blown over. But yeah, these are, you can see them on lab cam because it's always zoomed in at this location. We can always see them moving up the pieces into the roof to be mounted in place. So it's usually a whole stack. So that's what these are right here. These are whole stacks of roof panels, and then they pick them up and then move them over to the side, and then they will basically put it in place, and then they'll drill it, and then they will go to the next spot, and it overlaps for each one.
And is the yellow that we see right there, that line of yellow, is that insulation? Most
Yeah, that
likely?
looks like insulation.
Okay.
So these are all looks like rolls of insulation that they will put down and roll this way.
And then those holes on the left-hand side, those are for the AC, yes? Those vents?
Yeah.
Okay. Look at me. I'm an expert. On construction. I could do
I
this
know
for a living.
you're doing better than me.
Hey, that says something because you are the pro, man.
I'm okay on Tuesdays.
Good thing today's Saturday.
Oh no, we're all in trouble now then.
I'm just looking around, seeing if there's anything else that just pops out.
To the left, is there anything going on in that little mini shed next to the? I know they were building some turntables. Appears to be kind of empty right now.
It's now just a parking lot for these two trucks.
That is some primo parking, sir.
I know. I think Elon's going to get jealous, and these guys are going to get kicked out.
What are you talking about? That is Elon.
Wait, is that a Cybertruck?
Oh my God!
I would love to see one down here.
Mid 2023, and I cannot wait.
What will be in mid 2023?
The Cybertruck starts mass production, allegedly.
Hey, thanks, Yasada.
Well, that's a beautiful overview of the entire build site. I mean, it looks tiny and small, especially at 10,000 feet. But your build site is basically from Remedios here all the way up to really about here, because nothing else is happening in this area except a parking lot. And this is like the safety and training and the emergency services center. So like they have a ambulance that's just a transport. That's all it is. We actually did get to see that used the other day after an accident just over here.
That was crazy too.
Yeah, it's always horrible to see, but you could see that the individuals who were involved in it were up and walking about, and it looked like
the wife.
Yeah, there's that's always a hard part is about those things.
Yeah. There are a couple of questions about these things, and actually Shard Baby's question I find very interesting, and maybe you know and maybe you don't know, but I'll ask it anyways. Shard Baby's asking, what's the straight line running through the sand north of the build site from San Martin Boulevard?
Right here, back in, I think it was early 80s or 90s, they were building up basically a path to go to a small little island. I don't know why, but it was like a bridge or something that they were building. It got washed out, and it would basically collect water only on the north side. The south side, it didn't allow water to penetrate in except for areas where it's come through, like right here. And it goes all the way over. And I was looking at earlier photos than that, and it's like it wasn't there. For a long time, I thought it was like literally the San Martin Trail, but that's where San Martin is here. The rest of the trail, it doesn't really quite exist at this point. There, you have to really go back to some older pictures from like the 1920s and 30s that are flyovers of this area to actually see that trail and how that all works out.
Wait, Mauricio wasn't even born yet. Who's doing flyovers in the 1920s and 30s?
Army, mostly. So some of that's on Google Earth. There's other things that I'm hoping I could get Maria to one day get some books out of the library and get some photos from her cell phone, but that'll be a fun adventure. I'll go very deep on that one.
You are our archivist. Easy for me to say. Sorry. And Maria's in our chat, so perhaps Maria has heard you, and she might fulfill your wish, Thomas.
I hope so. Cross my fingers. Actually, I need to get another good picture from the other part of the site, but we haven't heard too much from you, Nick. Would you like to talk about what we see here for
Yes, please,
these pieces that are here?
Sure, I'd love to.
So from right to left, what do we got?
Going right to left, starting at the low bay there, yeah? The dome with no cap.
Oh, that's left to right then. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I kind of had that back mixed up.
Yeah,
all
so which
good.
one is this?
So that, we don't really know what it's for, but we know it's a ship common dome. That was spotted back in February, I believe.
Yeah, that one's pretty much dead then. It's like they're using it for a test article if they ever come to one.
Well, my
Yeah,
thought on that is you don't know for sure whether they're going to go to the elliptical dome or stay with the existing half sphere truncated style dome. It's been working so far, but it could be more efficient. But we don't know if the more efficient is equally as effective. So, yeah, like that little E dome with no is the equivalent as the one on just to the top left of it, and they got to test it, and that's what the test tank, the E-John test tank out at the launch site is
The
for.
E-Dome?
Just about, yeah,
Johnny Dome?
yeah. I think it's
Yeah.
called the John E Dome. Nick, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I
No
love those
correction
nicknames.
required.
But
But
yeah, so yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, they both of the one of those is going to be needed, but maybe not both. But they might already have a ship lined up that's expected to use that one. So I don't know, maybe.
So yeah, here's the two flatter or E-domes, similar to the E-domes.
Yep.
This one is a very different style from this one as far as how it's polished or what they're using as far as material.
Yeah, that one's actually interesting. They're the same material. They just cleaned it off on the right, but the one on the left has little hole tabs in the middle where the cap would go, and the right one doesn't.
Ooh, can you zoom in, Thomas, a little bit more?
It's pretty hard to see
Okay.
on these images. Yeah.
And there's no ground photo, right, Mauricio? You weren't able to see this up close, were you? Mauricio? Why, yes,
Well,
indeed.
we can
couldn't.
zoom through the build site and see if we can grab a good shot of those here.
I believe this is a.
We got them on ground. However, you can't see the little tabs I'm talking about.
I think what we really need is more pixels. Am I right?
Always
More
more pixels.
pixels we shall have soon.
So the area that you were talking about with the holes in it, is it the tabs at the bottom right here and then up here, or is it another area?
Yeah, there's tabs on the bottom which you can see kind of, but there were ones at the top which aren't there anymore.
And there's
All
a
right, thank you,
photo in
Jaxie.
our. Yeah. You are on it, sir. Love it.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, you can tell that they've not really completed this one then. If the tabs are still intact, so they do remove the tabs. It's part of the whole alignment process in order to make the flatter E-domes, and they're making them here on site. So these are stretched form panels, the same as the nose cones and a lot of other materials, including the panels here. These are also stretched formed. So stretch forming it makes it stronger, lighter, but the curve on these is a lot harder and sharper than it is here, but they are using less pieces, less welds. I love these. I'm really hoping to see an E-dome test and then
Next.
eventually a test to destruction where they announce that, yeah, we're going to pop this one. We want to see what it's really capable of, see how much material we need to get rid of, because these are really the future. I mean, like every part, maybe except for the thrust puck, and even then, thrust puck would be a good one to test for a flatter dome if you could do it, because you could do the common dome with these. You can do the forward dome with these. Each of those, it decreases the weight. It also decreases or increases the amount of capacity as far as your fuel. You have to burn it for a bit longer, and you have to burn more of that fuel, but you basically get a higher payload into orbit. So getting to that 150 metric tons is their end goal as far as payload goes. So you have
Thomas,
to burn like 8 times.
forgive
What?
me. Where are the tabs in this? I don't see the tabs yet.
You can just barely see them in the shadow of that dome in the middle.
See how it looks like a
Ah,
gear?
yes, I do now.
It means that every one of these panels on the left and the right is tabbed in, and they're kind of tabbed together. So you weld along that entire stretch, including the tab, or you even start at the tab on one of the ends. And
Does that
this is
mean they're
how you end up.
overlapped?
No, they're not overlapped. They're
No.
butt
Side by
joints.
side. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they also use those tabs for stretching and alignment for when it's on the jig.
Yeah, if you don't align
Right.
it properly,
Right.
you get horrible welds, and you end up worse looking than this.
And then nobody wants to sign the weld. I got you.
That's not my weld.
Ha 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 ha.
Nobody did that one. All right, so let me go back. Yeah,
Ooh,
that's
it gave us a
an
sneak
amazing
peek.
look. Well, a sneak peek. What do you want to sneak peek to directly?
What was in the bay that you just showed?
Over here?
Yes.
That's 7.
Yeah, that's nice.
And can we
Booster
tell
7.
what they've done to 7? Anything other than
At
the Raptor?
least 13 or 14 engines have been removed at this point.
Yeah.
And we've started to see engines head back into the wide bay, so maybe they're starting replacement.
Yeah, I saw this rumor on Twitter that there was damage to the thrust puck, and I'm like, no, but it's looking good again. So if anything happens, I'm hoping that it's like, okay, they have the Raptors there inside of Mega Bay. Worst case, they do another can crush test. They puck shuck it, test it, make sure that the interface at the bottom still looks good. There's no damage or issues there, and then go ahead and install the Raptors either back at the build site or at the launch site. But I'm just hoping for a Booster 7 launch because that means it's going to happen sooner.
And Mark Hastings is under the impression that they're going to cover the Star Factory roof, just a side note, with the solar panels. Do you think that they'll put solar panels on top of high bay, wide bay of the bays? Or is that just overkill? Too many panels of solar.
It would be nice. That's something they've done with a lot of the other projects for Tesla. Is they've done Walmarts, they've done a lot of other large buildings and shopping centers because it's just roof space where there's nothing else, and so you can now power the facility, and then you can also potentially power other facilities around there. So basically, you put power back into the grid, and this would be a great option for SpaceX to do some of that synergization, where they basically use the products and services from their sibling company.
Nice. And then I got a question about eDome for you from Senti. Senti's asking, is eDome or are the eDome welds micro FSW or welded by robots? And can you stir weld this kind of
It's
steel?
not friction stir welded. So we looked. I was suspecting it could be just the way they were doing the lines, and it looked like they might be having additional holes at the end of the tabs. That's where you actually end with a friction stir weld, is at the end of a tab. So you just continue welding until you hit the very end. Fortunately, that's not the way they're going, because micro friction stir welding is really expensive. It's really complicated, and it looks like they're just using regular TIG or MIG welding here with a robot.
Robot, because it's so clean.
Yeah, the first time I usually see these kinds of welds or a test weld of a system like this, it will be typically a human did it, and it's really hard to tell the difference between a human who's really good at their job and the robot. You have to really look at zoomed in photos to be able to tell the difference, and you're like, oh, okay, this one's a bit different from this one. Okay, I could tell that a robot did. Which one is it? It's the one on the right. Yes, okay. There's a lot of guesswork, but you have to take your time with it.
You know, Thomas, one of these days we should really make a side video that explains the difference between like TIG welding, MIG welding, stick welding, stir welding, laser autogenous welding.
So you mean like a wiki?
No, like a YouTube video. We'll put some
Oh.
funny noises in the background. It'll be great.
I do like friction stir welding as far as the principle, the cost of how it can work, but you have to have mass manufacturing in mind, and it's just the jig process of it, though, it's so expensive. You have to be down to less than 1,000th of an inch as far as alignment goes, and you have to put a lot of weight on it, and there's all these other parts that make it very complicated. So friction stir welding, in the end, you get a stronger weld. That's what they do for pretty much every rocket out there, but it's extremely expensive. SpaceX decided, well, we can go through and hire welders to do this job for much cheaper than it is to build the jig, because we need welders for the jig. But you can also do robots as well. There's like quite a bit of robots in both friction stir welding or a automated process with TIG or MIG. And so you just end up typically with robots in the end with a automated process like this.
I enjoy the concept of just making it like pots and pans, where you slowly step up you put hydraulic pressure on it and slowly step up the size and depth of the curve, and you get very good dimensional accuracy in terms of width and size and thickness and all that, but no welds. It's like perfectly homogeneous.
So you're saying we just stretch form this entire E-dome?
Heck yeah.
That sounds expensive, but it sounds pretty fun.
Nah, totally doable. They do it all the time. Nothing that big, though.
It's funny you say that. Yeah, they do something like that for the booster header tank domes. It's just in two halves.
They've I thought they were putting them in together in pieces, and you're saying they're now one contiguous piece, or are you talking about?
They do both pieces separately like that. There's a weld line down the middle of them.
Okay, so you're talking about the tank head, this part right here. Yeah.
You could also engage with Tesla and use that new Giga Ultra press and see how much you can stamp out.
Oh, the tooling for that would be so expensive.
Nah, it's just a little dome.
Well, there's always the alignment issue. It's like you think you have your tolerances and alignments right. You set it up. Turns out it's off by so much in this area, and you're like, okay, got to redo this. Sometimes you can remove material off the tooling, but it's harder if you have extra material that you need to add back in, or sorry, the other way.
All right, I'm hearing a lot of argument. If I got to go down there and do it myself, I'm game. I'll head down and show them how to do it.
You bring a scale model of just a little press with a hand crank. It's like, this is how you do it. Done. And they're like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
I'm an industrial engineer, sir. I know exactly how all this works.
Oh, wow. That's a new deck. I didn't see that before.
This is what they've been building for a while, right?
Yeah,
Oh, no.
we saw this before. It's basically a mobile home type structure, an office. And this is Maria's old place. It looks unrecognizable these days. The only thing that it looks the same is pretty much the shed. Everything else is pretty much gone. It's really hard to see.
We should I don't know if she can get on or not, but it'll be interesting to see if she can recognize anything that remained original. Like even that roof on her house, I'm not even sure if that's the same roof that she had.
Which building are we looking at? That was Maria's house?
This is the house. This is the shed.
Wow.
So Maria's husband built this and put a lot of work into it, and the engineers as far as the story goes. They looked inside and were looking at it going, wow, this is really good. It's kind of overbuilt, but it's just an amazing structure.
So this is the actual original structure?
House?
Sorry, Mauricio. Go ahead, Mauricio.
Oh no, I was just asking, is that a hovercraft in the back of her house?
That white boat looking thing.
I think it is. I didn't notice that until you pointed out. What? Is this more of the Sea Turtles Inc. type stuff, or maybe a rescue vehicle? I mean, that is very different. It's got the skirt and everything else. That has to be a hovercraft.
It's like dude, a hovercraft is perfect out there for going through the marshes.
Even the mud flats.
Yeah, that'd be super fun. Mauricio, I think you need to jump on that.
Get a ride with Elon.
Yeah, we have things we need to get in front of that. That's the lowest on the totem pole, GPJ.
I'm moving it to the top of the list.
If you say so.
What else is we missing? If there's just a hovercraft sitting here, there's other details that probably stand out. That it's like, oh, this is super amazing, like a generator, yay!
That's not a
But
dog laying on that deck, right? Sunning himself? That
It
black.
is.
Is it really?
It looks a lot like it. No, I don't think so. It also kind of looks like a hammerhead shark, so I don't know.
Well, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be a hammerhead shark.
like the
sunning
bottom
itself.
right here is his head. This is his leg
No,
at
no, the little
left.
black thing in the bottom right there, Thomas.
Down here.
Nope. To the
Yeah, right
look
above
up.
that.
Yep. See the black thing just to
Go-
the right of your
go
hand?
up.
This is just a spool of wire. It looks
No,
like.
Go up. To the right. To the right. That.
There.
Oh well, this looked like a person.
That looks like a person to you, not an animal sunning itself like a dog.
No, you
Well,
went too
they're-
far. You went too far to the
I know.
right.
I know. I'm looking at it, and it's way too big to be a dog. It looks like a person laying down,
Bull mastiff, my
or
friend.
or it's his shadow or something.
All right.
I,
so
I thought this was a
enough,
dog over here.
That's enough dogs and
Moving
decks
on.
and cars. Let's move on.
Maybe we've got a
to-
few dogs.
We are
Dogs,
a dog family
hovercraft.
around here, my friend.
I want to watch
Oh,
some
nice.
rockets being built.
Yeah, and we have those
They've got
ground
some
photos
lighting
to show
going in.
too. Mauricio did an excellent job of capturing some amazing things on the ground photos as well.
Truth. Hey, while we're at it, do we have any donations or questions that have come in?
There were a couple of donations that came in since we spoke last about them, and that's from Martin Horman, who donated €5, and Cranky Old Man, who donated $10, who was jumping in on that $10 train that was happening in the chat. And then the
Toot toot.
questions, yep, toot toot. There is a question about from Des Nichols. Forgive me if I butchered your name. Do the stairs in the back corner of the Star Factory come out the roof? Not that we're at the Star Factory, but that is a question that was asked.
Too close to that. Let me go over here. So the stairs at the back of the Star Factory would be here. I don't see any stairs that would come out to this side, and the stairs don't go up all the way to the roof from the inside view. They only go up about half a level of the building. So it might be that they intend for a walkway or something like that. But it would be near the bridge crane or along the edges of the bridge crane. So you could work above yourself to work on the bridge crane. It's actually too high even for that flat, half the height. So it's an interesting one. But yeah, I don't see any stairs or any perforations in the roof.
Fair enough.
We can go look at the ground photos of that if you'd like.
I'd love to. My goodness, I'm an RGV Patreon.
So this is not the back of the stairs. This is actually from the other side. This is from San Martin that we're looking towards Remedios, right? Is that correct, Mauricio?
While we're waiting for Mauricio, if you look up top, you can see the little road traffic cones that people were wondering what that was. That's
right.
a safety line to keep everybody from falling off the roof there.
Do they have to clip in on the roof here, like they do on?
Well, they can.
Stands?
This would be the worst place to clip on.
I'm just
You
curious.
would false sense of security, and that'll kill you.
Well, ideally, you're on that side of those stanchions, so you should be all right.
Roofers are generally not required to clip in. I don't know why, but yeah, if they're under a certain height or staying away a certain amount of feet, and that may be what that line is for, is saying you don't have to clip in if you stay within this rope. So if you're more than 6 feet away from the edge, you don't have to clip in if you have a sturdy structure to stand on.
Got it. Good to know. You know what else is
Yeah,
good
it's
to know?
it's definitely a warning to everybody out there going this far out.
Every time I think about the brutal heat out there, I'm so glad they're putting insulation in from the get-go.
Yeah, they need to clip that off, but that is looking pretty good so far on the siding and the roofing itself.
And there's the pipe that we were looking at the other day, the other stream, a couple of weeks back maybe, with Dave.
So one of the ideas about this pipe with Dave is that it could be that they have put the the roof drainage through areas like this, especially on the far back.
On the inside,
here.
though, Thomas.
Maybe there's a pipe that's bigger than this one. This one actually, I'm not sure what this particular one would be. So let me see if I can see from the Remedio side here, because that would be the best view of what we're trying to see back in the inside.
Hey, and while you do that, we want to acknowledge PKA Clan, who donated $5. And then PKA will be at Starbase from July 26th through the 31st. And he's asking, or she is asking for tips or meeting up with anybody. So if anybody's down there and you're in Discord, be sure to ping PKA Clan and let him know. You know who the best person to ask is? Actually, there are two that I can think of. Dave Avery, he goes down there regularly now. And also Shard Baby. Shard Baby's been down there for a month, and I think is almost looking at coming back in a few days to go back home. But he's been there since June, so he knows the lay of the land.
Yep, and we have a whole host of friends and regulars staying down there. If you get stuck on the beach, call Chief. He's the tow truck service for everyone out there. Mauricio obviously stays down there, and there's Lab from Lab Padre and Maria, Boca Chica Maria, all great people to run into. And of course, the fantastic Jessica Kirsch stays down there. So
Yes, but
plenty.
don't interrupt them while they're working. Try not to, at
Oh,
least.
yeah.
So yeah, especially with Jessica, if you want to be on her stream or say hi or talk to her, wait until she starts the stream. That's a big one, because it takes a lot of time and prep work to get those streams started. So I'm looking at those pipes back there, and I noticed that above them, they're already lights that are powered. So scratch that on the power side. It's already electrically or electrified here for their uses. I can see that this side is not. So they've got one here that is, these lights are not powered yet. Or at least they haven't flipped the switch, wherever that might be. Yeah, I'm still looking for that pipe. I think it's mostly on the left-hand side. Ah, perfect. This is an amazing shot from the left-hand side. This is basically from a kitty corner from the parking lot next to Wide Bay, in between Wide Bay and High Bay. Is that correct, Mauricio?
That is correct.
Mauricio! Sorry.
I can see
got
that
excited.
one pipe. Nope, that's not a pipe. That's just the wall. Never mind. Everything else is covered on this one. Did you get any shots actually from Remedios itself, looking at down the end into the building, the Star Factory?
Let's see. That would be from the north side of the White Bay, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to find if we have any looking just down Remedios at the corner there, because I thought I saw some, but I'm.
Yeah, I think I did. There we go. It's right 2 down.
There it is. That's what I was looking for. Thank you. Okay, that is a really thick pipe right there. They've got all of these pipes, and the pipe work that they have got T's for right here goes down to the ground. So could be water or air and then return lines. But yeah, that's the one that we think might be connecting to, and I don't see any T's though. That's the big part. If I saw some T's going into the roof line, I could say that maybe they're getting some drainage there, but I don't even see that here. Could just be a sprinkler system, which they should have or use for a system like this, or it could even be for air conditioning. That's where, like, you see the air conditioners popping through right here. But here's the stairs that we were talking about earlier. So they just go up to about mid-level. So this would be mid-level here. This is the top of the building. You can obviously see they have a bridge crane being built from this side. We talked about it last week, and it goes all the way over to this side. And it should probably continue from one side of the building to the other, but not necessarily. It does currently just end there, and I don't see anything else to say otherwise.
Jim Cabot says it's a fire suppressor. Apparently, quite a few people agree with that.
Yeah, one element to that is where they would be getting the water from. So they'd have to have some large water tanks to do that. Would it be just potable or drinking water that they'd be using to do
I
that?
would think not drinking water. You won't want to waste that. Not
Well,
that
I mean,
it's
if you have a fire, it doesn't matter.
agreed. Water is water, but
Oh, I see the birds are liking the new building. They're checking it out as we are. Okay, so is there anything else we want to go for in particular, or have any other questions that we haven't answered yet?
no, I think we can move on to the next location if you don't mind.
All right, so are we going to the other parts of the build site, or you want to go to the launch site now?
Launch site, please. We're about an hour and a half in. And we also want to do ground photos because ground photos are pretty cool this time as well. Like really, really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I think you skipped over the white bay glass being lifted and the raptors and all that, but you can circle back around for those if you want.
Yes, Thomas.
We just circled just now. There's the glass. So yeah, we have the new panels, and I think these are horizontal at this point. So that this would be like the top over here. This would be the bottom.
Now drop some of that knowledge that PK gave you about the glass. I'm curious, if you don't mind.
Okay. Well, there's a lot in the DMs here. So I'll just bring up the images directly. Wow, I'm way off where I was before. All right, so here's the glass. Here's an image of kind of what I suspect it would look like. I suspect that they will have so the middle part right here, there's a beam running across that. So this would be different. So right now these parts are supporting the upper level and the lower level are supporting each other. I don't think that's what we're going to have because we have already a solid metal beam running across that. But I do think that they are going for an approach similar to this. So I love this view because it's like this pretty much gets the idea across. There's going to be less of an overhang on both sides. So we're looking closer to this. So another element to look at is how the windows will be connected. This will be closer, I suspect, as well, to how they are going to put the glass together. At least at the bottom and the sides. I'm not sure about the middle, but the middle would probably be very similar to this as well. There's a bunch of other styles you could go for, including ones where you drill holes through the glass. I don't like that style because it just doesn't survive the Boca Chica wind nearly as well, nor the rocket launches or potential RUDs. So I really don't want to see this one. I'd rather see the other one here that looks, I moved it somewhere else. Anyways, that little plus sign. So this one. So I prefer this style.
Why do you prefer it? Because it's double paned? Or it's more secure?
No, not the double pane part, but more of the way that they secure it. I like this one better as far as how it's secured. Then you'll have some sort of compound like thermal bond or something like that. That's a strip that you can use as well. It allows it to flex a bit more. So if it rattles or shakes, the flexing, it can happen as much as it needs to, but not over too much. So that's a useful substance. I was looking this up when I was talking to Philkid about it. He's like, you really don't know your construction. I'm like, I don't. I need to learn more. And so that's why he sent me some great these great pictures that we're going through right here with all of the information. So for instance, this one
never pressure wash glass like that because the water will get under the rubber grommet and then it's stuck inside and man, it's just a mess.
Oh, I take it you've done it.
Yeah, I'm getting 4 windows replaced.
Because you power wash them.
Well, they're older and they were going out anyway. 2 of them already had water inside of them. So, but yeah, the final straw. So fun times.
See?
Yeah, but for one of the details that Philkid put on this, he said the detail at the bottom could be used for either vertical or horizontal, like the horizontal beam at Wide Bay. The sill and head of the glazing would probably fit into a U-shaped track to secure them. The 3 details on the top are more costly and fancy solutions, and that's where I showed the this. Like, I don't think they're going for that. I think the window side by side will look closer to this, but the middle, I do not suspect it will be that way because they already have a nice beam running across it on top of Mega Bay there. Let me see if I've got a good shot of Mega Bay here at the top or bottom here. There it is. This is it. So that's the beam.
Yes, it is.
So those vertical pieces of glass will go this way, and you'll have a lot of them. And then I think they'll be pretty close together. It will almost look seamless, but you'll still have some seam. You always will. And it will be a great viewing experience from both corners of Mega Bay. You could basically get a full crowd watching from the launch, future launches, not the first launch. They're going to taper that one off for quite a while. As far as the number of people accessing the build site. So only people who might access the build site during the orbital test flight are people over at the Massey's gun range. I think that's where they're primarily setting up for all of the services, and the trucks will run in to fix things if things go wrong. But yeah, so we do have the glass going in as we are probably speaking at the moment. This is a lift from yesterday of the glass. And I counted at least 8 sheets from one of these cartons. And they were looking to be about 3 cartons worth. It was either double paned or single paned. I couldn't tell. But maybe it's double paned, so there would only be 4 if that's the case. That better be some wrap around there, because that looks sketchy. Maybe it's just reflection.
Yeah, I think it's reflection, and it looks like there's something coating it or covering it. You know how they put that plastic film on top of it? That's generally like green or blue.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's the plastic or just a reflection, because that looks so sketchy.
Look at the box itself. It looks like it's been broken at the bottom. The container, the wood.
Yeah, so these are 4x8s. We went through and looked at them like, oh, so we've got some 2x4s like this guy right here. And then these would be 4x8s, and they went through and you can see that they cut it twice, once on both sides. They're expected to be acting like 2x4s.
So Maria says that Finn told her that the glass was from Germany and is a special pour. So maybe that is what it's meant to be. She says it's approved by the Brownsville Fire Department, ? So not real sure about that, and OSHA approved. So more about that glass, the infamous glass.
Nice. Thank you for that, Maria. Wonder how much this all weighs. I mean, the way that these cartons of glass are being lifted, it looks like it weighs quite a considerable amount. Okay, so I'm looking at these pieces. I saw them earlier, and I'm still trying to figure out what they are for. Any clues?
Those are actually the cages at the COPVs. You can see them in the aerial views. I think the COPVs were stored there at one point.
Okay, so they've removed them.
So that's where they test COPVs, probably then, the cage being to contain shrapnel during pressurization tests if there's a question on them.
So if we're looking at it right, it would be over here. Now I'm confused. This is the area that is the cages for the COPVs, and they're very much intact, at least on this image.
Those are from Monday. Those were taken on Monday, and they moved to Sanchez on Friday, I believe.
They do look the same as far as the top piece and the rest of it with the cage. So either they're in the way, or they're going to be moving them or outside of where they currently are at. I'm hoping they get rid of a lot of COPVs, honestly.
So does Elon.
Yeah, more things you can get rid of, the better. It's just how you go about it, the engineering principles behind it. You have to start with saying, okay, well, why do you need this thing? One of the big ones they're getting rid of is the hydraulics for the thrust vector control. So now you are dealing with electronics and batteries, and you're already dealing with batteries because you were using those to pump the hydraulics.
Yep. I had a question last week about that as well, as thinking, hey, well, you're also already using pneumatics. Why not use that? Turns out pneumatics is a little bit squishy and not a great application for something where you need real good control authority. And but a motors can turn screws or just actuate in different stepper motor different ways. So yeah, there's plenty of options. Plus, you can remove those honking HPU covers off and just replace them with more Tesla batteries up top.
So I think that they've kind of skipped the Tesla batteries at this point. They have converted over either to a off-brand Tesla battery, so it's still Tesla, but it is very powerful, lots of energy very quickly, because a Tesla, you're supposed to be able to drive it, hundreds of miles. So you're distributing that power over time quite a bit. You're not accelerating the entire time and putting it to its max limit. So they jerry-rigged, I think, the current Tesla batteries we saw on the Starships and boosters, and now they've got, at least on the side of boosters, brand new power packs that are very energy dense and pack quite a punch, but they're also a bit more problematic if you ever do get a short, because it's like, there goes all the juice, and you have to replace the battery because it could fry it pretty easy.
Yeah, once the magic smoke comes out of the computer, it's no longer good.
Yep, I learned that as a kid.
You can't put the magic smoke back inside. But yeah, as far as battery technology goes, you can move from parallel connections to serial connections and exchange length of power for depth of power that way.
So we wanted to move over to the launch site here. Was there anything else at the build site before we move along?
No, I think we about covered it. Let's jump on into the launch site.
Yeah, I'm with GPJ.
Nice.
There was a question
okay.
real fast about wide bay in the top floor that you can just answer without having to go to the image. The question is from Jeff A. He's asking, isn't the wide bay top floor twice the height of the example we were showing? So when you showed that
for
example of the double
that
windows?
image, yeah. So that image showed a approximate size of what we would have on wide bay or mega bay. So it will be two panes of glass, one stacked on top of each other. You could see it on the ground shots. There's that beam that runs across. That's not for a brand new floor. That's just for the glass to adhere to something, because you need some structural support backing it. Glass, like everything else that you attach to a building, needs to connect to something, because gravity will otherwise take effect. And building code says, no, you can't have just floating glass or hauling glass running off of your building.
Launch site it is.
All right, there we go.
That's the whole thing right there.
That is the whole kit and caboodle, from the Sanchez, the build site, the village, all the way to the launch site over here.
So can we zoom in? There was a question asking where the Star Factory is in relation to everything else.
So that's the Star Factory. So you can see the 3 tents
Maybe you
underneath
could
my
zoom in a little bit, Thomas?
magnifying glass.
It's a little small.
Yeah, it's
enhance
10,000 feet. This is a really awesome shot. I love these because they get a good perspective. So here you have tents from top to bottom, 1, 2, 3, then Star Factory, and then you're pretty good distance all the way over to the launch site. So the road just kind of ends at the beach. You go either south or you go north on the beach, or somehow you've got a car that is amphibious and can go into the ocean. So it's best to not do the latter if you know you do not have an amphibious vehicle. But yeah, that is the relative location. The entire site is just right there next to Mexico. There's the Rio Grande. So that's where it ends. This is all Mexico to the right, top corner.
So while we're on this shot, I'd like to briefly go over one of my favorite topics. So last, what was it, on the 11th, we had a small detonation of methane that was shot out from under the booster. And It only impacted very locally right there. Maybe they're testing the OLM, but it was about equivalent to maybe like a pipe bomb or backpack bomb or something of that nature. Just a few kilograms of TNT equivalent. Originally, I had calculated out a 75% efficiency of combustion and figured it would be about 10 kilotons, which would put the damage almost to the edge of the build site there. Not the right to the left.
build site or the village.
The village. Yeah. So
Okay.
you would have minimum like glass damage right at that village. But I learned the FAA and NASA use a 15%, which would really put the damage of, like, say, glass being broken, like if LabCam was out there, probably a little bit between LabCam and the launch site. So a little bit to the left, a little bit to the left.
Let's see here. I'm looking for the road because it's all over here. I'm thinking the wrong spot, but yeah, right here.
Yeah, probably about somewhere between there and halfway to the launch site. So you're really only talking about very localized damage, and this is on the order of maybe breaking glass, not destroying structure. Now, you're still going to have to go through and revalidate everything, but, so for everybody who worries about the, intense amount of destruction, it's really about there at most. Yeah.
So it's just decreasing rings of destruction essentially until you get to further and further out. Like over here, yeah, you can hear it, you can feel it. It's really loud down to here. It's there's still a bit of danger of, let's say, debris. That's about it. Over here, like small pieces. But yeah, you're dealing with very much the impact just at that area around the launch tower and the infrastructure over there. Most of the damage that we would ever see will be out here in the ocean.
Whenever it tries to land.
And we should point out that Booster 7's hiccup, if you will, didn't break any windows because Maria was able to confirm that her office was still intact.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hey, Maria.
Hey, I didn't know I had a voice.
You have a strong voice, my sister.
So the office is facing the launch site right there by it's right behind Prancing Pony and the solar panels, and it's facing the launch site. There's not a tree in between the plate glass and the launch site, and the village is behind it on Weems. I'm on Esperson, and it didn't even phase it. They said there was 2 employees that ran over and checked it because it was a pretty big bang, and they called me one texted me, and the other one called me and said everything's fine, don't worry. But over here, we were in the direction of the concussion at Long Island Village, and we're only 4.7 miles from the launch site, and it felt like the house jumped. It was a lot bigger than what the kids at SpaceX explained to me. When they gave me, oh, it's just kind of a big bang, and I thought,
it's fine,
wow.
Maria. It's fine.
So it depends on which way the air's blowing. You get a bigger bang here than you get for being over there. I mean, I've noticed that just from where I've been filming in the past. Sometimes the static fire sounds really wimpy, and another time it blows dust in your face. So it just depends on which way the direction of the wind is.
And Maria, before you go too much further, we didn't actually get to introduce you. Do you want to let everybody know who you are first, neighbor?
I'm Maria Pointer. I started out doing this about 2012 to 2017, and then I got serious in 2018 and sold our home to SpaceX, and our home is now in the middle of the build site.
Your old home.
Oh, for quick reference, I'm pulling up the map here.
Original
Just a
home.
quick Google map. So here's the Long Island Village over in this area. So we're going from here to that area to about right here for the launch site. So you're about a little bit less than 5.5 miles.
Yeah, but if you get on the tip where I'm at, it was about 4.7. But you're in the ballpark, and it was a good 9-mile radius where people got a good thrill, and there was no damage. And
We
then
also
I
got a
found
thrill
out
watching.
it was a thrill watching. Yeah, um, I just gotta watch my mouth when I get uh, excitement like that because I
Yes.
was typing and it came across as sailor language. But anyway,
You are a naval officer.
I am a sailor. So we have hurricane glass. Most of the folks in Long Island Village have hurricane glass, and when they get hit by a concussion, you can actually see like a vibration on them, and they don't bow, they don't move like over in Boca Chica when we'd have these overpressure tests when I just had a security camera. I didn't have the Lab Padre cameras yet. I was just filming with my security camera. And those windows actually bowed in, and they were plexi, quarter-inch plexi. So it just depends on what kind of glass you have. But the Esperson office has really cheap old glass, and there wasn't one broken window. And there's been broken windows in the village before, so it wasn't that bad.
And your Twitter handle is Starbase Boca Chica?
That's the company, the
Your company, yes?
starshipbook.com, yeah. And then you can actually see the Starship Station on this map too if you just swing around to the left on the river. And that is just on 4 miles right there. I can
It's
see it.
visible from space.
Yeah. If you click on it, it should. Oh, you're not live, so anyway, it's. And then the other spot is Rocket Ranch. And between us and Rocket Ranch, between Starship Station and Rocket Ranch, is a goat farmer named Homer, a Vietnam veteran who is just a sweetheart. And then keep going up from Rocket Ranch is Diego Luna. That's his fish camp right there. And that's what gave me the idea to buy our block so that we could make a fish camp and do some ADA accessible fishing and media viewing. And then on the other side of Diego is Keith Reynolds, where the Raptors Roost is. I don't know why I don't have my logo on there when you bring it up. I guess you got to click on it to bring it up.
It should come up here at the bottom.
Maria,
I'm running too much at the moment, so it might not click properly. There we go. So Starship Station. There we go.
Starship Station.
And it's got all the pictures on it. This used to be besides the San Martin Trail, right under my logo there is a boat ramp, and it used to be a really popular drug smuggling route when we first moved in there. So they blocked off the boat ramp, so you can't use it now. But they just go down the river.
So you're saying it was popular with boaters, just not the legal kind.
Right. Yeah.
There is a question for you, Maria. 55 Chevy guy Steve is asking, how did the B7 explosion or incident compare to the SN4 exploding?
It was bigger.
The Booster 7 one was bigger.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was bigger over here. Probably 4 was bigger over there because the wind was blowing a different direction.
Ah. But would wind have something to do with it? Unless it's
the way the
gale
air
force.
concussion bows. It does disturb the air concussion if it's because we get pretty stiff winds here
Mm-hmm. Hurricane style.
in the daytime.
Crazy.
No, this B7 was so loud here that kids were crying. They felt it in their ears, so they were crying. I mean, we're talking about little kids.
Thank you for clarifying, little kids.
Yeah, they cry all the time, you know.
Well, I was so the other day I was at the SLS launch, and they had a large number of people. There's probably about 1,000 people that gathered. It's not the SL launch. It was a static fire. Sorry.
That was that was a good film. Thanks for posting that up.
Yeah, you're welcome. It was quite fun to go out there, and I had 2 cameras and both of them. I looked at them again, and I'm like, oh, they're both out of focus. I gotta learn how to do this right next time. Like I got it all set up, and then I was like, wait, I need to get a different view, and I moved it, and it unfocused everything. But we'll actually probably have a video of that coming out tomorrow for the Lab Madre Weekly.
Were they disturbed by that sound? Were they disturbed by it?
Oh, the kids were really upset by it, but at first they were like shocked and didn't know what to do, and then they started really crying afterwards once you could hear them. But I was only about 1.46 miles away. That's what I measured. It was loud. Like I could feel it in my chest, and I was putting my hand on my chest, and I could feel it over my hand and my chest. It was so weird.
Wow. Yeah, that's like the launches when you were there at Raptor Roost for the launch.
Yeah, so SN15, that's the first
15.
flight of a rocket that I've ever seen.
And
It
the
didn't
one
go
that
orbital,
landed.
though.
It's the first one that landed and
Yes.
stayed landed without blowing up.
And it actually is like the best of both worlds, because it's like you don't normally get to see a rocket take off and land from the same general location. Normally it's like it takes off at Florida and then lands another part of Florida. It's good distance away. Here it was basically from this launch point and then landed right there. That was it.
Or it could have been like SN11. You didn't see it go up or come down.
Yeah, that might be the last time we see something like that until we get the booster landing again. That might be as early as Booster 7. How crazy would that be?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
they're doing tons of work on these chopsticks. They are aiming for an orbital launch campaign where they test a booster catch. If everything goes right, and they can try to catch it, there's a good chance they will succeed. If everything goes, or anything goes wrong, really, majorly, it will go into the ocean. That's pretty much guaranteed. It has to do a dogleg maneuver where it maneuvers itself over to the chopsticks under the grid fins and under power. So it has to do it in 2 different directions. If it gets neither of those, it just goes in the ocean.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, it's at the beach.
Right. And there were a couple of issues with prior engine, and I'm hoping that they've got it fixed with the helium spin up. But relighting an engine, that's just been fired for 172 seconds, and then it's coming back down, engine first. They're having to re-spin those up using helium, and they had trouble with that on 8, 9, 10, and 11. And, they got it right with 15. Well, they kind of got it right with 10. The other thing is with 10, they had trouble after it was started commanding it up to 100%. It just couldn't get its the gas going, and it was stuck at like 50% speed. So those things all
Later, with the wind blowing, it just would not spin.
Right. The wind was blowing in the wrong direction. And so there are multiple points of failure, times of failure that would have different implications. So it's really gutsy to try to land. And if it were me, I would have done the first one out at sea, maybe have a little like cheapo barge out there, or just throw a little mat on the ocean and call it a day.
They have Phobos and Deimos.
Well, no, there's plenty of stuff down here that they could catch it with or rescue it with. There's a ton of rigs down here.
They could use their
Right.
own rigs. The
No, they're out in Mississippi right now, I think.
No. I'm talking about like the ships, the little drone ships.
Right. Yeah, you could totally bring a barge, but I don't think they would want to risk. I mean, those of course, I Still Love You and Shortfall of Gravitas are both multi-million-dollar rigs, I believe. So I wouldn't want to risk one of those. I would just take a couple of pieces of plywood and paint them with the SpaceX logo and call it a day.
Pretty much. Yeah, you can do that with old oil barges.
Right, exactly.
So when they're trying to, excuse me, I don't mean to interrupt, but when they're trying to catch it with the grid fins, and do they have down the thruster capabilities, the fuel that? What if they got to hover longer than they want to. And I mean, wasn't it um, B5 that ran out of fuel just as it was coming down? The S5, what was S5? Yeah, 5 and 6. One of them ran out of fuel just as it was about to hover, and it slammed down really hard. And I thought, whoa, that didn't look right. So how do they calculate how much fuel to save for thrusting about, getting in position?
So they know how much thrust they need, which is 3 engines to start, and then I think they cut down to 1 or 2 engines to actually touch down. So what you do is you calculate the number of seconds you need plus a margin, and then you work your way backwards from there. So if it's 10 tons per second, and you need 10 seconds for the landing burn, and it's 2 tons per second for the touchdown, and you need about 4 seconds of that. That's another 8 tons. So you calculate that out, and you end up with, get plus or minus 10 to 20 tons total for the. I think I came up with 23 tons, being on the conservative side with a huge margin. So yeah, you're talking on the order of that. Now, keep in mind, 23 tons is a lot of fuel, but you're also talking about a booster that holds 1,400 tons. So this is 0.5%. And it's been a little while since I've done my calculations, so it might be more than that. I'm going off of memory. But yeah, but you work your way backwards with how much fuel do you need to run 1 engine for a few seconds, 3 engines for a couple of seconds for the boost, how many for the boost back burn, and you just add that margin to your takeoff weight, and you know that you're not going to spend that much fuel. And you're using almost an entire tanker load at 23,000 kilograms, 23 metric tons, every second when you're doing 33 booster engines. So it is an insane amount of fuel, and I love it. It's great.
Jeez. And that's just for testing.
That's for an actual production launch. Is they are going through 172 tankers in 172 seconds. It's beautiful.
Well, so I looked at the calculations real quick the other day. If it's about 1 ton per second per Raptor, you're going through about 200 plus tons of fuel just to clear the launch tower. And then the speed you're going is about 120 kilometers an hour, and it took you about 7 seconds to get there from the point of liftoff or ignition to that point, or even less, depending on how much fuel and how much payload they have.
Yeah, the other interesting thing is, this is going to be a really springy launch. It's got about the thrust to weight of the shuttle. And let me tell you, when that shuttle took off, including the SRBs that you saw, Thomas, and when that shuttle took off, it was clear of that tower in just like a second. So I think this thing will be clear of the tower within under 2 seconds.
Oh, that's going to be different filming, because usually they're slow and I'm too fast on the lens. I'm wanting to move and they're not moving yet.
I know, it's really disconcerting. The Starship has much less thrust with only 3 engines going. This is literally 11 times as many engines. So,
well, to also add to that, they were underperforming as far as the engines. They were throttled down into a range which would not break the sound barrier or anything else. That was part of their plan. So the Starship, when it launched on, I saw it on SF-15. I was like, oh, it's aborting. No, wait, it's still going. Oh my gosh, it's off. It took me like a few seconds to actually see it. I thought it was just sitting there like holding on for dear life, and then it really did take off. But I was looking at it with my eyes from a few miles away, and I was looking at it with my camera, and I'm like, it's just sitting there. But
I think the first time I filmed it, when it fired, I went up with my lens and the rocket was still down below out of my viewfinder, I was too fast off the rocket, off the launch pad.
Oh, real quick before we move on, looks like they are pouring some concrete to fill in that berm finally. So good catch there.
Yep, I'm just been going through some images to make sure we have something constantly going. But sometimes it's like the conversation is the point. The pictures are just the icing. But there's so much to go through that I'm like, oh, I gotta talk about this. I gotta talk about that. Oh my gosh.
So before you
Did you
move on
know?
from this photo, there are some questions I have. Have they shortened or capped off these arms, the chopsticks arms? Chopsticks.
No, these are currently staying the same length, but in Florida, they are going with a much shorter set of arms.
And it is confirmed they are capped at the Florida site.
It's
Nice.
yet another gutsy decision. It gives
That's
them a
crazy.
smaller margin of error. But you know what? If you look at their booster landings on the ship Indian Star,
I agree.
they're nailing it. They don't
Spot
need
on.
all this mass.
You are absolutely right. I also agree with you. I mean, I think yesterday's landing on that drone ship, I think Jaxie pointed out that it was literally like millimeters off the center. But other than that, every single time, this year
Yeah.
particularly.
And I really want to hand it to the SpaceX software devs. Oh my God. Like they are making systems that are so cross platform functional.
Yeah,
What they're doing with the boosters for a Falcon is going to directly correlate with what they're doing for the boosters for Super Heavy.
exactly.
And exactly, yeah. And that sort of, cross domain understanding of physics is going to apply so well. They have so much experience. I think they're going to nail this right out of the gate.
Which is why it does make sense if I mean, we keep hearing rumors that they're going to do a booster landing on the chopsticks for their first attempt. So
It's
maybe
not
not
just
the
rumors.
ocean.
There's FCC documentation to
Even better.
support
Right.
that.
Even better. So no ocean at all. Hopefully we'll catch everything and save everything.
Oh, well, the ship is definitely going to the ocean one way or the other. However,
Thomas.
the booster, there's a good chance it can land.
The question for the ship is how fast and in how many pieces?
I'm
And
hoping
at
when it
what?
touches the ocean, it's in one piece, or at least mostly one piece. There could be a tile that's shaken loose or something, but I'm hoping it's all pretty much there and it's good to go.
Yeah,
If
look,
was to land.
yeah, there are, and we experienced this when we were watching SN8 take off. There are stages of success. If this thing clears the pad, that is definitely one level of success. We can all cheer for that. If this thing makes it to stage separation, and that's another stage of success, it's gotten through a lot. If it does a successful stage separation and the ship gets to orbit, that's another huge level of success. Deploys Starlinks, another. Makes it back to the point of reentry successfully, that's another. And if it survives reentry, that's another level of success. And then if it can relight its engines, do a kickflip, and land safely, that's all you could ever ask for with that mission profile. And I think they'll get 99% of the way there. I think they're going to hit a lot of milestones. They're going to get a lot of data, and they're going to learn a lot. And like everybody, I'm most interested in the reentry. I think they're going to hit all the other milestones, but that reentry is going to be something brand new we haven't seen since Shuttle. And with Shuttle, it was pretty dicey.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I always held my breath on those.
Yeah,
Well, you
and
need stainless steel, which that can survive some pretty hot temperatures, but this is thin, so you're not able to survive for very long. So if you are going to have an issue, it's better at the very end of the reentry where it's like still kind of hot, but it cools down pretty quickly. The flaps really are the ones that you don't want having issues there, well as the fuselage. But
yeah, I think it's such an incredibly smart idea to move the flaps back a few degrees and get them out of that direct line of plasma and just present the broadside. And you just poke your flaps out from the back to do aerodynamic control.
well, they kind of act as air brakes too. They are about 45-degree angles, at least on ship 20 or 24 as well. So they do that nice 45 degrees because it makes it extremely stable. It gives it a large surface area to slow down on. That's going to be the exciting part is seeing how it acts during reentry, or even the hypersonic part of the launch. That's going to be another part we're really
Right.
interested in seeing, because that has not yet happened.
Now
And
there's
that's what I'm saying is move those hinges back behind, but keep the aero brake of the fins, and you keep the same mass, but you're much more protected. Just move all of that complicated and gappy areas back a few degrees. And there you go.
Speaking of gaps, they're filling them in.
I know. I've been keeping my progress chart updated with a rough percentage of ones completed. They're
You're not
doing
counting
good.
the tiles accurately. That's the thing? Oh no, just kidding. There's always going to be a couple of tiles to replace here and there at all times. I don't know why, but
because Austin needs to work.
true.
Job security.
Yeah, we remember we had the conversation about, well, did any tiles fall off of Ship 24 when Booster 7 had its little explosion that it created? And I was just like, if the tiles fell off, they weren't secured anyways. These are basically hard connected directly into the ship using clips. So if those clips are not in fully seated, you could still look like it's in, but it's not actually in, and it would have just fallen off or come out and be very apparent that it's not attached. So do you want to talk a little bit more about the landing part of the booster? Because I was pointing at the chopsticks and looking at this image, and we're still haven't seen anything yet as far as hydraulics here. I still expect to see something eventually, but not quite yet.
There is a question about the chopsticks in Florida, if you don't mind me asking.
Perfect.
Joshua Braun is asking, do you think the Florida arms will only be used for stacking because it's 39A and land other places? I thought that was a really good question.
Oh, yes. So they are building a Tower 3 out at Kennedy. And that is a very good idea that they may use that as they use the main tower at 39A for lifting operations. And then they build a separate tower, perhaps at Skid 13, where they catch the Falcons. They could also have that as their landing zone and put out just a pure catching tower at 13, or 40 or 49. There's a couple of different options there. Pardon me if I get my launch pad numbers mixed up. But there are several places that they own or lease, and they could build a tower there purely just for catching.
So one other thing that is an interesting element is you can go through at some point in the future and take the chopsticks at 39A that are going to be shorter. So it's meant for just lifting, and potentially you could catch with it, but you'd have to be super accurate. But if you wanted to make them as long as these ones, all you have to do is take off the end caps and continue the extension. That's pretty much it. A lot of alignment you'd have to do, but you'd basically build two separate pieces, bring them up and align them and tack them in place, and then weld it while it's being still held in place by a crane, or you pull these ones down, not these particular ones, but the ones for 39A that are shorter.
Yeah. Let's get back to your question or comment you had just a moment ago about these catch arms.
Sure.
So
It was about the Florida ones.
No, I was saying Thomas's.
Apologies.
So the long metal bar in the top right, just above where that guy is a cushion. And what it does is it pivots out and pivots up. And when it does that, the booster, not the fins, but just below the fins, has two small protrusions that slide down and touch down on that bar. And that bar is then in turn hooked up to hydraulics, or will be eventually. And those hydraulics then go through their own series of hydraulic cushions. So as the booster touches down, it shaves off and cushions it shaves off velocity and cushions the shock, and should hopefully protect the booster and the tower at the same time from any tearing or tension damage from the landing. But as Thomas said, this is missing one huge thing. There are currently no hydraulics hooked between the the catch arms and that rail. As soon as we see that, we know that a catch is on the table as an option. If we don't see that, we know for sure there's no way in hell they're going to try to catch it.
HE double hockey sticks.
Heck.
There you go.
Yeah, so this is where that mechanism needs to be in place. So it needs to be a hydraulic, or even technically could be a pneumatic system. It doesn't need to be as accurate, at least on the landing. It just needs to be up, and it's compressible as far as gases go, so that might work. Or you might use a system that's more like a hydraulic damper. So you can actually have gases on one side and fluids on the other, and it's extend it out like a hydraulic piston. But once it's you have to constantly pump it to keep it in place. But once you are ready to land, it catches it and it basically cushions that fall, as you mentioned. You don't want the booster. Let's say if it's inertia is bringing it down, it's going to weigh what I think Elon said 250 metric tons with the ullage. Let's say if it's double that, as far as with the inertia of it coming down, it would weigh about 500 metric tons. You don't want that 500 metric tons to be instantaneous. You don't want it just to land on this bar and the bar has no give. That's where this comes into play. You want this 4-bar linkage that they have here already up extended in this direction, so that when the catch happens, it dampens that. You've increased your load, but it's over time, not instantaneous.
And for those of you watching the stream, I slipped. Forgive me.
Or did you fall, or was it the
my
hockey
hand
sticks?
slipped. I was doing something and I accidentally started
Oh.
the end credits. Just a
Oh,
little
no.
bit.
Oh, so
Well, that's all,
we got
folks.
nothing of that.
Main engine cut off. No.
It was premature. I got excited. What can I say?
Oh, that's funny. Well, at least we're still here. We are still going. Now, I don't know if you caught anything about the chopsticks that I was saying, but it wasn't important. It will be important eventually,
And
but not right
you
now.
would have talked right over it, so it would have been fine. They would have heard you the whole time.
Really? I thought it mutes us. Oh dear.
Nope.
Does that mean that at the end of each
Don't
of our
worry.
streams
We're
that
good.
they can hear our
We're good.
conversation?
We only had one issue one time. We've corrected
Okay.
since then.
Okay, so I'm going to jump right over to the Can Crusher. I've been desperately wanting to talk about this all of this time because I'm looking through for any signs of damage. That's the big one here. They did go through and do a full puck shuck and can crush test with 7.1. It appeared. So they, I think, either had one of two things happen. Either it was full of cryo and gas, and then they released the valve into this tank, and the gases rapidly exchanged from this tank into this tank. So this was a low pressure state. This was a high pressure state. So it all went here immediately. And that's what we saw. And that's what I'm thinking. But the only way to tell is to look for any signs of damage on the stringers or other elements. And so far, I'm not seeing anything. But if you guys see anything, point it out to me because I have yet to see any damage. I did notice at one point on a test prior, a little bit of a stringer that had just a tiny bit of damage, or it was just welding. It just had a heat affected area, so no damage there. Just
So the video, I know I've seen a video where it certainly looked like it buckled.
Well, it was definitely in a pressured state and then went to another state. So everything buckled from out to in very rapidly.
I think there is actually noticeable damage, but I didn't actually get an image of that particular side. I think we're looking at the angle from Highway 4, and I got some images from the beach as well. The only angle I didn't get was from, I want to say, like from the west side of the launch site. I think that's where the damage occurred.
So on the left-hand side over here.
This is from the beach, so it's not going to show damage. In fact, I think we're talking with Nick and Jax, and there might have been some signs of some of those. Well, they can probably talk more about that, but they saw some anomalies that could indicate that there was some failure. But
I can't tell if this is an electric line right here. Oh, it's an electric because it keeps going down, so that's not a failure. I'm just looking at any distortions that is not heat distortion on
The failure was localized at the top of the tank near the inner stage, unpressurized area.
And this is what I was telling you, Thomas. You can actually see the movement.
I watched the video and I saw the movement itself, but I did not see any gases or cryogens come out.
Exactly.
So I'm really suspecting it's more of a pressure differential, that they opened up the valve onto this tank up here, and that all the pressure inside suddenly went from here into this tank, because you can see this tank shake, and then this one really goes from expanded and out to contracted. So I'm expecting that it was more of this guy that opened up on this valve. All that gas just went shooting in super rapidly because it's a pretty thick valve.
Well, the main thing with that is all the places that those external stringers are on is unpressurized area with no tankage or anything. That's part of the interstage.
Yeah, that's where basically the booster would be down here. This would be the booster section, and then the Starship would come on top. So this top hat, as I call it, would act as the Starship, but it also is acting as the engines for the 20 Raptors at the bottom, which are the hydraulic rams in this case. So I'm still just looking for any damaged stringers or weld marks where it's like there's separation.
We tried looking for those as well, but it seems to be localized entirely in a specific area. Like it's further to the right, but you're not able to see it because it's well covered up. So it could have just been a very poor weld on a stringer that gave way.
I would hate to have it be a failure, but I will love to find if there is a weld that has given way or a failure of any kind, because it's good to know that knowledge of whether if this structure will work right or not. Because if there's an issue, especially during the launch campaign, you'd rather know about it beforehand. So yeah, I don't see anything else. Just quick synopsis on the can crusher itself. Each of those hydraulic rams, if I can go back to a picture of it. Here we go. So each of the hydraulics rams down here is able to do 230 metric tons, which is about 500,000 pounds each at its max capacity of pulling, which that's equivalent to each of the Raptors for version 2, or at least the version 2 RBs or R Boost. It could go a bit higher for R Boost. They're aiming for like 245, 250. But those are probably going to be like version 3 Raptors. I'm not sure if they're going to get to that point with just version 2, not without potential RUDs. Okay, so is there anything else, at least from the ground, that we want to cover or go over? Or do you want to look at the aerial shots now for the rest of the launch site here?
Aerial shots work for me.
Sweet. And this is actually one that I just realized we haven't looked at least on the ground. We'll go to their aerial shots in just a moment. They have been cleaning this area up pretty well. The legs still need a bit of paint.
And the sandblasting, if you have that sandblasting image, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, I saw that. I was interested in seeing that a little bit more. And we can talk about how this did not fare very well in terms of withstanding heat damage.
Maybe
just
it did fare well though. Sorry, Mauricio.
They should have just put Hoppy out there as one of the legs. He's indestructible.
Well, they did some cryo tests. It looked like it, at least through the orbital launch mount, it looked like it worked. Though pipes were leaking down below, any of these didn't look like there were any issues. So
Yeah, that was one of my main concerns, and one of the reasons I'm very glad they spent this week testing 7.1 in addition to 24. That allows them to revalidate the entire system of fueling the booster. So a lot of that goes through the table, and they did test the table as well. So it's not a 100% test, but I'll say it's like a 70 or 80% test of the systems, and that's a really good start. The tank farm survived the initial blast, so that's good to know.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the sandblasting you're referring to. I either skipped it or
It
it's
was actually on the chopsticks.
It's
the
3
chopstick.
images down, I think.
It's on the orb
Further down,
itself.
I think.
okay. Further down that.
Here, let me see if I can find it. It's actually very
There it
interesting.
is. 2 more down.
Tuck on it.
There's the actual sandblasting taking place. Okay, but I don't see the people doing it. That's the interesting part here. There's some sort of dust, but I don't see the person with the sandblasting.
It's a ghost.
Might be like a few images down.
So these are the can crusher. Well, actually, this one got some guys over here on the boom lift.
Yeah, those are the guys doing it.
Okay, so this is just after they were done. Yeah, so I try to grab all of these in chronological order so that we can go through and make sense of it. But I'm jumping around trying to get the thumbnails to load over here on this as well. So sorry about that.
Are you saying we're giving you too much to do, sir?
No, I just can't see those tiny little thumbnails that well. They're
No, yeah,
too
I
small.
noticed they're a little tinier than normal, but that's okay.
Yeah. If I went through and refreshed it, it would take some time. So sorry about that.
So
yeah,
bear
there
with
were.
us.
There, let's go ahead and jump over to the launch, or flyover pictures of the launch site.
Sure. Just know that they were sandblasted.
Sandblasting is good. It's just really can be irritating if you're the one doing it. You have to wear
So
masks.
I think we should, in honor of Zach Golden, we should take a quick look at the tank farm and see how the installation's going on the new cryo pipes for the oxygen pumps and the methane pumps.
They took out pump 3 for methane side last night, so that's not something we have in the ground shots. It just happened last night, so that'd be this one right here.
So they have 4 manifolds for 4 pumps there, and they've minus that third one. And they don't have a hippo for 3 or 4.
They took out the hippos?
No,
They
they've
didn't
never
have the
had them.
hippos.
Okay, I didn't think that they did.
So this is like for the future. We want to do 1 hour turnaround times. I think that's what that's really about.
Right. You have to have additional cooling. You have to have additional pumps. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they do have a lot of piping that's been there for a while on this side, but they are obviously missing the extension of the hippos. They need more of those. Yada yada yada. Do you have a shot for the oxygen side?
Well, I could just go right to the labeled side of everything. So this will take a second here.
Is this a Boca Bingo production?
I believe so. So here we go.
Oh yeah.
So now you've got all of the labels you need for referencing, so we don't have to be like, pointing out some random thing and nobody understands what it is. It's all here.
Oh,
Yeah.
this
Could
is
you zoom
fabulous.
in on the? I know. Good job, Procky.
Yeah, Procky's the man.
Yep.
It's at Bingo Boca on
Boca
Twitter,
Bingo?
or no, it's Bingo Boca
He's
actually.
written it as Boca Bingo.
I know, but it's the other way on Twitter.
So the
If-
Twitter handle, at least for that part, is one way. The name is another, and the name right here is that
I
correct
see.
way.
Top left is the Twitter handle. Bottom right
yes.
is not.
Yes. And he goes by Procky. So yeah. Anyway, cool guy. Could you zoom in, Thomas, on the 4 times LOX subcoolers?
Yep.
And this was taken on the 18th of July, so this should be fairly recent. So they have 2 pumps that are hooked up currently, And there are plans to hook up at least 3 other pumps, and they have two of those 3 in place to the left of those. The thing you don't see there is the manifold. And we found 2 weeks ago the manifold for that side, and we were waiting to see if it got installed, and it has not yet. So anyway, that was what I wanted to point out and jump into.
Forgive me
So you're
for
making a
interrupting
prediction.
real
Oh,
fast.
go ahead.
I just want to give a shout out to Adam Taft. He just donated $100. He says he's been watching since episode 1. He says, I always watch after the show ends late at night here in Arizona, but you guys rock and hope this helps for flights and Cam Fund. Cheers, mates. Dude, you are
Cheers.
amazing. Thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you, Adam. Wow. Great, good on you, man. Yeah, RGV uses all this money for, Sunny, for the cameras, for the flights.
Mostly for the flights.
Yeah, those flights are expensive.
Yeah, and with the gas prices, my goodness.
But Grandpa Joe, back to this. You're making
sorry.
a prediction. You saw a pipe. You expected to see it replace this one fairly soon. Did it include the elbow as well, or was it from like here to here?
So you see the left-hand elbow, and then you see in the center how it has that pipe coming down. And there are 3 little wrap segments there. It's going to be everything between those segments.
So from here to here?
Exactly.
Okay.
And it's going to have 3 outlets facing towards the pumps, and one of those will be capped off until they get the 5th LOX pump.
So we need that other LOX pump. Otherwise, it's kind of useless. So I'm hoping we see that soon as well. Like, we've got that duck in a row. We just need to get this duck in a row, and we might see one more chiller at least up here, or at least they hook it back up to this system here.
They have enough room for 2 more chillers, and it's not a one-for-one relationship. They all come from a common pipe, pump through a common pipe, and then they fill up 6 different chillers, or up to 6 chillers there.
They've got 2 more spots up here that we can do for chillers. So we've got 4 more spots. It's quite amount of flow that you can do, especially with the extra pumps. Right now they're only using 2 to do the booster and the Starship.
The other interesting thing this week is that I've heard that they've started covering them with cryo wrap to insulate them a little.
Yeah, I could see it on this one. They started for the kettle boiler.
Yeah, we would always insulate those before they left our factory when I was building those.
So they didn't come from your factory is what you're really saying.
Yeah, these guys are amateurs, obviously.
Well, they didn't need to do it until now. They're just testing things. And they replaced at least one kettle boiler so far, I think, right? It was towards the beginning of all of this. They
replaced the pumps a lot of times. I don't remember them replacing the kettle boiler. Do you want to go over real quick the changes to the actual tanks? I see that Procky's got them notated up here.
Yep. So water on these 2 tanks here. So H2O. This was the water tank. So the difference between these 2 and this one, these were the methane tanks, or going to be the methane tanks. They had some regulatory issues using these ones. So basically they're too close to these tanks. So this is just nitrogen. This was water. That's not a huge deal, but it was the space between them. And then they also needed a barrier between it as well. So that's what you see here. There is a barrier between these parts of the fuel farm. So it has to be a certain amount of basically spill, right? Or I guess you could say that what could spill out, this needs to be able to capture it. And then you also need a wall like they have here. So this basically goes through and checks all of the regulatory requirements where these did not. So they repurposed what were methane tanks that they on all of these except for the water tank, they're basically an interior tank that is the same 9-meter diameter as Starship and Super Heavy. The particular elements out here, these are all just the shells. So they don't have to support much more than insulation. And then they also have basically a bit of extra rigidity built into the whole thing anyway. So that's nice. So they protect from blast damage and other things for the
Thomas.
methane tanks. Yep.
So that old H2O tank with no interior shell, so having a 6 meter radius, so 6 times pi times its height, which it's the full height, I got 3.6 million liters of storage. In the GSE 8 and 7, I did the same calculation for those two combined, 3.45 million gallons. So, or liters. So you're roughly equivalent and good to go.
So the cryo shell here is going to be about all of these are going to be about 12 and a half meters. You can look
No,
up
I'm talking about the
Google.
interior 4.5 meter radius of the
Oh,
actual vessel that holds the water.
the first one you said was six
The
times
6, yeah,
times six, or 6 with 6. So I was thinking you were talking about a 12-meter radius.
12-meter diameter, 6-meter radius. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a little bit bigger than that. You can look at Google Maps and use that to measure, or Google Earth to measure the diameter. You can also double check with shipping containers.
Yeah, but this is all kind of back of the napkin calculation, so I won't say it's 100% right, but they're in the ballpark. They're almost identical in terms of capacity.
And that's just so awesome. That it's like serendipitous that they are like that. So you need to not remove this tank, but repair it. In the end, do you think they're going to be able to just store water in these tanks, all three of them? So they'll use this one and these two.
You know, they may need the additional water capacity. I think those two tanks will be enough, though. I can't imagine having one. I haven't seen the pumping station for it, so I don't even know how fast they could pump it all out. But two, you know, just I don't know what they would need more water than that. That's I need to figure out how much an Olympic-sized swimming pool has in it, but it's a good portion of that.
I'm just trying to think. The workers can only drink so much water. You could theoretically, if you need to, do a deluge system on the tower itself to dampen sound for the first few seconds, but that would be kind of a waste of money and resources.
2.5 million is a standard Olympic swimming pool. So those two GSE 7 and 8 tanks are 1.5 Olympic pools.
Nice. One thing that Procky's got here that is really nice to see is the labels for each of the gas cylinders here. So that one's one
Right.
that it's always very hard to describe. So you've got the vaporizers, and you've got vaporizers over here, but the tanks themselves. So you've got oxygen, helium, nitrogen, and then CH4 on the far right. It's kind of nice. They've separated the oxygen and the methane as far as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Similar to here, like what they were planning. So
real quick, what is a vaporizer and why do they have them out there?
okay, so a vaporizer, it takes a liquid that's cryogenic and it warms it up. So that's why it looks like let's say like a coolant or a heat sink on a CPU. It kind of has that same look like a radiator. So it's actually pulling in heat from the environment to warm up your cryogenic liquid. So it goes from a liquid state to a gaseous state. You can then use it to basically pump and prime the tanks themselves. So if you want to put pressure behind, let's say, a LOX tank or really like nitrogen or other things, or use it for all of your pneumatics, you now have nitrogen gas available to do that. That's what you're going to be using for your most of your air gas vaporizers. You can also do some methane over here. So I think that you can use the vaporizers for methane. You have to put it into the cylinders. So I'm thinking there's only one of these that has basically a switch back. Then you have to purge the system every time you go from one system like this because you don't want methane gas in your lines.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. So want to go for some more pictures and tour around? This is a
You
great
know
little.
it.
Always. I feel like that's not.
We're
a
always
question.
looking the details behind the labels.
I found those pictures, by the way. Neither here nor there.
Oh, you did. Nice.
We'll come back if we have time.
So this is one that I haven't really looked at too often. Is this little berm of dirt? People have been thinking it's for when they do, let's say, testing of the was 7.1 on the Can Crusher. If any cryogenics were able to be spilled, it would be blocked from going into Highway 4.
So, Thomas, before you move too
Yeah.
far away from this, there's a silver pipe-looking thing that's coming off of what looks like booster 7.1, or sorry, not booster, but 7.1.
hmm
Is that actually coming off of actually the other side, going towards your berm that you were just looking at?
Okay, yeah. So there is a pipe going here, and then there are pipes going up this way. We've seen this one dump constantly. This one, it seems to be more of gas, very little dumping of cryogenics. So this is like their main bleed line that they'll use to run part of the system.
And maybe if you leave it on the image for just a couple of seconds, because it gets blurry when you
Sorry.
move it. No, no, that's okay. It makes it a
Um,
little easier to see when it stays steady for a minute.
Yep, sure. I didn't realize that was an issue. I had it running at a slow frame rate but high pixels, so I was thinking it was working. Sorry about
It
that.
actually is working. When it's stationary, it clears like that, and you can see the
Nice.
definition. Yeah, you're totally okay. I was just wondering. So is the pipe off the ground? Is that the
No,
shadow?
these are pretty much on the ground because it's not anything
Okay.
they're reclaiming or reusing. It doesn't matter.
And
If you ever need your cryogenics run from one location to another across the ground, you would put like 2x4s underneath it to keep it from warming up. So even though the concrete is kind of cold to the touch, it's just the thermal conductivity.
mm-hmm.
And that's pretty bad when you're trying to keep the cryogenics in the pipe nice and cold. So it would warm up the pipes pretty quickly if you put them directly on the concrete. So that's why you do 2x4s. So what else do we want to go for here?
Jeff actually has a good suggestion too. He believes that the baby berm, Jeff Allen, he believes the baby berm is to protect Crane X, in his opinion. So the SpaceX crane. Which could
Yeah, so any cryogenics from here, it protect here. It'd also protect a little bit of the E-dome test tank, which that doesn't need protection. And they did put the Raptor platform over here as well. So it does seem to be that it's protecting everything in this direction of Highway 4, including what we can see right here during the testing, because there is no other cars on site. That would be the Rover 2 cam for Lab Padre. That's funny just to kind of see it there. Let me see. What else do we have going on here? So there's plenty of dirt backfill, but the interesting part is actually this area. We've talked about it a bit each week. They are starting to get this area really cleaned out of all the vegetation and organics. Looks like they even have some backfill in this area already in place, or at least some of this was moved in from over here to here. Let me see if we've got other good images for that.
So Thomas, this would be a clear indication of the expansion that they're for, I guess, the phase 2 of the launch site, right? For the second tower, or there's actually going to be a third. It's going to be a pad C, right?
Yeah, that's part of it. Let me go back to the full screen view of it all so you can really see it. We have all of the FAA areas, which is the current fence line, which pretty much the concrete goes to. And now it's expanded into the areas that are basically designated by a environmental engineer. They're looking at it and saying, yes, the vegetation up here on this high side, it's like the highlands, where these are the mud flats. It's within a few feet or inches difference as far as the terrain level, but it's big enough to say that this is a separate area. Now they can go ahead and start filling this in, put concrete in. We would be eventually looking at pad C eventually in this area. So we've got A, B, and then C would be right about there.
And that baby berm comment about protecting Crane X was actually from Senti, not from Jeff Allen. Forgive me.
Misdistribution. Oh, thank you, Senti.
My eyes got a little wonky. I just blew Astro Joe's mind.
So yeah, they've got quite a few berms set up everywhere. That little baby berm is is no exception except that it's on the concrete itself, and it's just made of dirt, and you can tell that they brought it from this pile all the way over to here, back and forth. But yeah, they're going to really start filling this in, and it will be great to be able to have a area concreted over here. This area right in this spot will pretty much just be as it is. They're going to regrade it and basically make it a retention pond. That's what the current, I believe it's Army Corps of Engineers map shows. It's kind of out of date at this point. A while back, they were talking to the Army Corps of Engineers and saying, well, we're going to be doing this project with the launch site, and part of it is that they want to cover up parts of the mudflats. However, they had not yet talked to all parties and had an agreement with the PEA, so that put off a lot of the Army Corps of Engineers parts of this. So they will need to get Army Corps of Engineers approvals for filling in a lot of this area, as well as some other agencies, but that's one of the main ones. Can't wait to see the E-Dome test tank really go for it. Do you guys expect to see a pressure test and then eventually a test of destruction?
Oh yeah, they're going to start with an ambient test and then an air pressure test and then not a hydraulic but a cryo test and then test of destruction.
That'll be so cool, especially the test of destruction, because it's like when you know something's going to break, it's a question of like how far out does it go until it breaks. The longer it waits, the longer it's closed off and you don't see pressure being relieved, you know that it's just building up over time, and you can kind of calculate approximately what pressures that you're looking at, but you're not able to get a good representation until it blows. Then it's like, whoa, that was a lot of pressure. It's more than I was expecting. It's all over the place. So I'm hoping for a big explosion on a test of destruction. So debris all the way over to here.
And Mauricio, there was a suggestion. Maybe you could make some merchandise with Troll Island on it, because we love Troll Island.
I know, right?
Mm-hmm. I'd buy a shirt with that on it.
It would be so niche, nobody would understand it but us.
I mean, that's kind of how it is until it becomes popular, right? Then we can teach everybody what Troll Island is.
Yeah, I'm seeing if I can find the original for that. I posted that ages ago, and then I know, was it Marcus? No, it was Felix. Felix Schlange reposted it. It was hilarious to have that out there. So it's very nichey. So Troll Island. Let me see if I can find it. It's nichey. Where can I find a good picture of Troll Island here? Here we go. That might get it. There's Troll Island right there. It's got that smug-looking face. So yeah, if anybody else could find Felix from What About It Troll Island post from probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago, that'll have a nice overlay for it to really see the Troll Island face. For those who don't see it.
Trust us, there's a troll's face there.
Oh, here's another good one of that. It's upside down. There we go, perfect. Now everything else is upside down. That's such a weird view when they flip an image like this. It just looks like it's hanging off the edge of the earth. There we go.
Now I feel dizzy. Thanks.
Sorry about that. If I could just flip it horizontally and vertically that quickly without that, I would.
By the way, one note on this picture, that crane right there, they just bought and purchased a SpaceX branded identical crane to that for the Kennedy Starbase.
Nice. So another Liebherr LR 11,000?
Yeah.
Is it 11,000 or 1,300?
I thought it was the 11,000 that just got shipped.
Okay. It's a 13 and 1350, which...
Yeah, 1350 is what I was thinking. But where's Nate when you need him? He'll know. He's the crane man now. Other than, of course, crane man.
Wait, how many crane people do we have?
We have
Hundreds.
several, at least 2 or 3 that I can think of.
Now, are they all bird people, or do they just like cranes?
Thomas and the jokes, kids.
Yes. Okay, so what else do we want to look at? Stage 0 or the integration tower? You can go
Stage
for any of
0,
those
in
above.
honor of Zach, I believe, is what GPJ was saying.
All right,
Who
perfect.
is not here today, as you all noticed, because he has a family event to go to.
Oh, Zach loves his parents. How cute.
I'd hope we all do, sort of. Many of us, hopefully.
hmm
All right, let's get some nice zoomed in shots here.
Whoa.
That's a zoomed in shot, my
Sorry.
friend.
How's
There
that?
we go.
Thanks,
Look at
54
all.
Chevy guy.
Look at all the rust on that table. They really need to paint that.
What's
Or at
funny?
least
Are you being funny? Because
a,
that's kind
a
of what they
little
did
bit.
since he did those pictures.
They just need to paint it with a better paint. I mean, there's no paint that could withstand sandblasting and heat. So, yeah,
Are
we
the
get both of those with the Raptors.
are the crooked ones meant to be crooked, or was that from the B7 incident, if you will? You
I think
see
it's just
how
the angle of the photo or something.
cannot be the
That's
angle of the
weird.
photo because the other ones are straight. I'm talking about the brown lines on the top where the
Oh, I know what those are. Those are just
okay.
they're just pieces of, I think, cable cover. So, like, you can see how this one's bent and broken. It's
And
just,
then the one over by the hood, and then there's one more like opposite of that one.
Maybe that happened with the blast, you
That's what
think?
I was asking. Yeah, I looks like it because if you look at the one on the left there, it looks like the line was straight and it moved from there all the way to the left. Thomas, keep going left.
yeah. So,
My
like, this
left.
one
There
is
you go.
broken. That one's broken. That one's broken. So, there's 3 broken ones.
And I wonder if that's what we saw them spraying last night. That I thought was the extermination, and you guys were like, "Dude, they're not spraying for bugs." I was like, "Oh, okay."
I hadn't heard that one. That's hilarious.
You were there.
We
Hey,
were talking about, I think, the new platform that they're building. Was that Mauricio?
no, that we saw the awnings. Oh, you call them awnings, right? The
Yeah.
ones for the
Yeah.
launch mount.
Yep.
Well, why are they at the launch? I don't know. We've talked about it today or not, but why are they at the launch site? And are they going to be replacing those? Or because I noticed on the previous image, they came out there. They've been there for about a week or so at the launch site, and there's even some that are kind of they have cutouts in them. Not sure if they're for this launch mount or maybe backups or replacements.
So these two right here and here, those are for climbing up into the top of the launch table. So it's just got some stairs that allow that. But the crazy part is they've already replaced 2 of these pieces, the awnings as I call them. So they do seem to be replacements if something goes wrong. Maybe something did go wrong and they'll replace a couple more, like maybe some of these, the ones where it obviously the paint has gone away, unlike these, which look pretty good considering.
You think you can zoom in to the maybe like 2 images above this one?
Sure.
Let me see.
Okay, so you're looking for the
Yeah, it looks if you zoom in at the little bit up there, right there.
awning pieces here. Sorry
Yeah,
about moving around very quickly there.
and those are the ones I told you that they look like the cutouts for maybe those other replacements.
Yeah,
But yeah,
there was
I was
about
just curious.
18 of them, I think, when we counted them. See just 10 so far. I don't see any of the others. Let me zoom out. Whoops, that's not zooming out.
But yeah, I just found it interesting that they brought them to a launch site. You know, I assumed that if they weren't going to use them, they would just leave them at Sanchez or at. These were actually at Massey's, like about 2 weeks ago. So
Yeah, they were at Sanchez. Then they went to, or actually, they first arrived at the launch site. 2 of them got taken. Those got used. The rest went to Sanchez, and then they went to Massey's, and then here. They're like, nobody wants to accept or take them. I don't know why. Hot potatoes, maybe.
Now, there was a donation from John Dopker for a I always mess up the last name, Dopker, $5. And he did ask a question about the Booster 7 incident, Booster 7 gate, as I like to call it. So,
Yeah.
do you want it now? The question, since we have about
Yeah,
10 minutes
go
left in the
ahead.
stream. Okay. He
Go for it.
asks, this may have been discussed earlier, but how did the fire start under B7? His little one, Victoria, wants to know. Hi, Victoria.
Hey, Victoria. Well, so the leading theory, the idea is that a lot of methane, gaseous, was pushed through the engines for a test. And after the methane was on the ground and in the air and started spreading out, it found an ignition source, which is what your question is. Our best guess is that the ignition source might have been a generator that was running on the ground, has fire in it, has sparks, it could light it. Another theory is that the ship itself has different electrical parts that they might have had an electrical arc that caught it on fire. And the third idea is they may have actually been testing the igniters at the same time, and either on purpose or accidentally, and that might have been what did it. So somewhere there was either a spark or a fire, and that's what lit the methane cloud, and it burned. It detonated for a moment, and then finished combusting and completely leaving that nice black cloud.
And I believe
And
it was a pre-burner that they were testing, 33 engine pre-burner, and that's why it went boom. Because there's always a little spark, but from 33 engines, a little spark can be a lot.
mm-hmm.
So it's supposed to
And
be a spin prime test, and Jax is agreeing on that. The question is whether they enabled or left something not enabled for the ignition source. So if they left the ignition source on accident, so it detonated, that would have been the engines causing it, or an engine. And I hope that's not the case. I do think it would be either. I was saying that the HPU cover was suspect, like they could have had methane build up into the HPU cover where the motor was at. That's where it appeared to me the seemed where it started from. But you're looking at one frame. There's no fire. There's just methane. The next frame, nothing but fire. That's how fast it was. It was the entire area. And another point is the oxygen that they were dumping at the same time with the methane. That's really what did it for the most part, because it's that combination of the two. It allows it to bond very quickly and rapidly. It's almost a perfect mixture. Looked like they were dumping methane a little bit beforehand because you had a larger cloud afterwards that after the explosion, it just did a fireball. If they
And
didn't
they
have the
stopped
oxygen.
the venting altogether. Sorry.
Yeah. And then the fireball continued after that. I don't suspect there's any methane cryogens in the vehicle at the time. I think it was just nitrogen in the methane tank, and that they were just using. We talked about these earlier, so these tanks. So it's this amount of methane, or a little bit less than that, was what it was being produced to that explosion. So that's all it was this plus gaseous oxygen. Or even the cryogenic
But you
oxygen
have to have
mixing with this.
something that blows, and nitrogen is not going to be that thing.
This
Anyways,
is
we're going to
not.
have a long conversation, and we don't have to do that in this stream.
I'm sorry, it's this one over here. I was pointing the wrong one. The gaseous CH4. So
There you
these
go.
tanks. Sorry, oxygen, gaseous CH4. I had that backwards for some reason in my brain.
So you're saying there was methane there.
Oh yeah, there's methane. It's just gaseous methane,
That's fine.
not the cryogenic methane, not the stuff from these tanks in here. So let this be a lesson to you. Don't use your barbecue grill with oxygen sources that are 100% oxygen. Bad things happen.
But again, it won't be that bad with 100% oxygen, will it? I thought it needs an oxidizer, and that's what the oxygen is. Anyways, neither here nor there. I will be quiet again.
No, it's fine. The ignition source, if you delay it, it builds up, then you have the explosion. Versus if you ignite it all at once, you just have thrust. That's how the engine is supposed to work and is built. But the delay part, that's what did the most damage.
Yep, it allowed rather than having, let's say 1 unit of power per second coming out of each engine, they ran for several seconds, and so you had 4 or 5 seconds of power that all culminated at once rather than what they were built to withstand. Also, one question I wanted for this picture was they during the explosion, it knocked off a bunch of the scaffolding. Are we seeing that they've replaced all that and they're back in action?
They've been working up here quite a bit, so I think they've replaced that scaffolding.
Bonus
You can
points
zoom
if
in
it, if they had been done with that scaffolding and we're just waiting to take it down, that would have been awesome.
Well, it's like you have to take apart the scaffolding over here, but the planks are gone, so you have to find the planks or get new ones. But yeah, they replaced all of them. So the only places you don't see the planks is here in this spot and this spot. That's where the pushers are for the arm. So you've got a pusher on the left and a pusher on the right. So when the booster lands, you can see like this one is really obvious to tell. You've got this kind of triangle shape on both sides. And that is where the pushers are at. They push in towards the center right here where you want the booster to be at. So you can swing it over, put it in the launch mount for stage 0. You can detank it. That's the eventual goal. They're not quite even ready to that point. They're just going to try to land it as far as maybe booster 7 or booster 8, whatever is ready for the Chopsticks. Right now, it needs to get a lot more done. They've been working like crazy on the Chopsticks. It's amazing how much work is going into that. I thought, you're going to go out after stage 0, get it all fixed and repaired in order to do the launch. They looked over the stage 0. They're doing a lot of basically superficial paint, fixing some cabinet covers that were damaged, little things like that, some wiring, anything that needs to be replaced or repaired or properly covered. They're going through and doing all of that, but it's not a whole lot more work than I was expecting. It's a lot more work on the Chopsticks. That's where their goal is right now, is to do a landing with those Chopsticks, at least with booster 7 or 8, whenever this is ready. So any other images or subjects we have or questions we want to go over? And Mauricio, definitely want to get some more feedback on you on your side.
I mean, yeah, there's definitely some images. There's some raptors that I was out there. I was out there on Friday, which was yesterday, right? And I saw several raptors that were being either loaded away from the build site, and then I know for a fact that some of them were arriving. So it looks like there's some repairs going on with that. But let me pull up the numbers of the raptors that I saw out there. Posted them on Twitter in case anybody wants to check that out. But
here we go. Found them.
So we have Raptor 2, number 81. Then we have 66, 80, 48, and 95. Those are the ones that I was able to visually see on my end.
So that brings up a great question for a data point. If they're on engine 95, delivered and ready for production, when did they roll out the very first Raptor 2? I remember number 5 was in February, March. So
they're at a Raptor per day production at this point, or higher than that.
Wow, that's amazing. Kudos to them.
Now, the one part is McGregor does like to kill raptors. Elon said something like, what was it, 30 or 50 that they've gone through?
Yep.
So they do chew them up, and that's a good thing. You want high production, low-cost engines, and they're achieving that goal, and they're throwing away. But the best part is the parts that are still good, they reuse. So like the let's say methane side, the turbo pump, the power heads over here, it's all still good. It's just the chamber and the bell. Those are the ones that seem to be getting the damage the most.
So we're at 145 days since the first one was spotted, thereabouts. So yeah, they're not at 1 a day yet, but they're getting there.
Well, they weren't at 1 a day at the beginning, but I think they are now. They were talking about that a little while ago with Elon.
And just because we're at the end of our 3 hours, we wanted to acknowledge John Dopker for his $10 donation. He says, got to get my tenner in for the camera and pupper treat. So thank you, John Dopker. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Mauricio, do you want to start off the goodbyes? I know you gents are probably still wanting to talk some more, so if you are here, you're welcome to join us in the green room. If you are a Patreon member or a YouTube member, you're welcome to join us in the green room, and we can continue this conversation. But I tend to be a stickler on time. My dad taught me that. So, Mauricio, you want to go next?
Oh yes, just like you said, there's certain perks you get from becoming a Patreon. One of them is every single time that we do the flyover, that day of the flyover, we usually do a show and tell, which is a live stream on Discord, and you get to hang out with us, and we get to per se just look at the images together and see what changed. And we do that every flyover and every time we go out there at Starbase to get the ground shots. And aside from that, I mean, I want to thank everybody that helped out with the camera. I want to just remind everybody we already got the funds for. We reached the goal for the funds to get the camera. We're just waiting on the actual funds to be available to go buy the camera. So
YouTube
hopefully by next
hold
week
on to
we
it.
should be able to do that.
How long does YouTube hold on to those funds for?
It's usually about a month. Usually about a month. They don't pay out until about I don't know. AdSense is kind of weird. So it's going to be prorated in a sense from the funds, but I anticipate we're going to have everything by next week. So yeah. Hopefully we'll have some ground shots with the new camera. If not, and the next flyover after that we'll have some flyover images with the 61 megapixel camera.
Oh, that's going to be glorious. Thank you so much, Mauricio.
And we'll get ground and aerial photos with that 61 megapixel. And you said you're going to do a side by side, right? So we can actually see the difference in the beginning?
Yes, so we'll do a side by side either through the ground shots. I'll do a first look and I guess unboxing on Discord once I get the camera. But I'll keep everybody updated. I'll keep everybody on the loop on that once we get closer to the purchase date.
And real fast, Jeff Allen, thank you for your €10 donation. He says, such a great community. Because you're here, my friend, because you're here. How about our friend Thomas? Thomas, would you like to say goodbye?
All right, I'll say goodbye. Thank you for having me once again. It's a pleasure as always. And with that, Mauricio, you've said goodbye. Nick, do you want to say goodbye before we go as well? You're still here with us, right?
Yep, I'm still here.
Would you like to say bye?
Yeah, sure. It's been a pleasure to be on here and help out.
We love having you, Nick. And what about Maria? Maria also gave us a treat and joined us online on stream. I don't know, Maria, if you wanted to say goodbye real fast.
It's been fun. It's always I always like learning from what you guys discover. Thank you very much. And stay in touch.
Love learning and listening to your stories too. You make it all real for most of us, if not all of us. Like literally, you make it real for us. So thank you for all that you do.
You're welcome. And everybody be safe.
Thank you, Maria. And go ahead and off to
No, please. I was just going to thank everybody in the chat and everybody in production, but you go for it.
I was going to say, Grandpa Joe, I mean, he could end it now, or if you want to thank everybody else.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody, for joining in with us today. Please continue the conversation with us on Discord over in the RGV server. And with that, main engine cutoff, stage separation confirmed. Love you. Bye.
I don't have audio on the credits. Okay, the credits are muted too. There's no music. Okay, I'm listening to it right now. There's no music.
So the cryo shell here is going to be about all of these are going to be about 12.5 meters. You can
no, I'm talking about the interior 4x5.